guys very much for joining us on the Gateway Sports Venue Show. I'm John Huff, joined by Roman Bishop, and we are here to recap Week 9 of the regular season, to put a bow on it, and then preview the first round of the playoffs in the metro area, where there's going to be a lot of Illinois games on the Metro East side, but also some interesting first-round games in the St. Louis, Missouri portion of the area. So, Roman, I'm really excited. This is going to be a great week to review, and then we had some pretty crazy games, and then obviously the big IMG East St. Louis game, which we've kind of been looking forward to all season, and some other games that had some pretty interesting results to them as well.
Yeah, we've been doing this show for a while. Second live show, so thanks to y'all for tuning in. But every year, the post-Week 9, pre-Week 10 episode is always kind of funky because Week 9 usually has a ton of crazy games and always a few upsets, crazy matchups. And then going into Week 10 is always super weird because of the formats we have in Illinois and Missouri, and how in Missouri you have, a significant majority of the good teams on a bye week this week. And then in Illinois, you've got a lot of good games between some of the kind of middle seeds, like the 8-9 games. There's plenty of good matchups. There's also some other weird matchups, like I know the Edwardsville game. That's a funky one. It's the 32 versus the 1 game in Class 8. But yeah, there were plenty of exciting matchups, and the first one that we're going to go into is Hazelwood East sneaks one out against Parkway West. Hazelwood East wins this one 21-17 in a pretty insane fourth quarter comeback. And this really, I think, was just Hazelwood East's physicality being too much for a 48-minute period for Parkway West to handle.
Yeah, I was there filming the game, so I got a pretty good idea of it. It was a struggle in the first half. Both teams scored on their opening drives, and then just struggled to find the end zone after that for a while. West drove the field, came close a few times, but didn't score. Defensively, they got a few turnovers against Hazelwood East. And then in the third quarter, it seemed like it was all coming together for West because they scored on their first two drives. They actually set up their first drive with another interception in Hazelwood East territory. And Brett Ottensmeyer threw a touchdown pass to Leighton Usery, who's actually the number 1 leading receiver in the area, statistically speaking. And then on the next drive, on a fourth down, sophomore Max Jones had a really nice touchdown reception. Caught it kind of over-the-shoulder catch in the corner of the end zone while kind of being defended, so it was a great catch and just a big momentum play, too, because it gave West a 17-7 lead and all the momentum at that time, and they were getting stops on defense, and they even got another stop on defense right after that, and then they drove down to the field. They drove down the field again early in the fourth quarter, got down to the 11-yard line of Hazelwood East with a first down and 10, and it's just you're thinking, like, if they can just get a touchdown here, it's pretty much over because, East they weren't getting a whole lot going offensively, and they run it looks like a split back veer basically with some triple option stuff, and they weren't getting much done. But East clutched up and got a stop, and there was a fumble that kind of took away an opportunity for West to kick a field goal because it was like a 12-yard loss, took them back to the 23-yard line, and I'm assuming that was the reasoning, so they went for it, didn't get it, and then East just took over the game right after that right there.
Yeah, you just saw some highlights of Terrence Little there, number 4 for Hazelwood East. Not the biggest dude, but, man, he runs hard.
Yeah,
he's great at accelerating through contact, getting those yards after contact, getting down the field quickly. And this was kind of a turnover fest. Tyshawn Tillman, the Hazelwood East QB, he completed 3 passes to his own teammates and 2 passes to Parkway West. But Brett Ottensmeyer also had 3 interceptions. So a lot of turnovers in this one, kind of a messy game. And
yeah, it was sloppy for a little bit.
And yet again, a game where Parkway West really struggles to run the ball against a physical defense. As a team, they had 56 rushing yards, less than 2.5 yards per carry. And, looking a bit ahead for Parkway West and their district, they definitely have the talent to win, I would say, their first 2 games. They should be Parkway Central. And we'll talk about it. Actually, we're not going to talk about their game against Parkway Central next episode, or I guess the later part of this episode. But they played Parkway Central earlier this year and won pretty comfortably because they have the pretty heavy talent edge in that one. And then they could potentially play either North Point or Zumwalt South. And, both those teams, especially North Point, likes to establish a good run game. And in most of their games this year has done a decent job of defending the run. So if Parkway West can't get a good between the tackles running game going, I don't trust them in their district, because if they inevitably run into Zumwalt North, then that could be a problem, because
Right,
the Panthers have been pretty good at defending the run this year.
In the fourth quarter there, West really needed to kind of run away from East instead of just holding on, and they had to hold on, and they weren't able to do that. And give a lot of credit to Hazelwood East, because they finally figured it out at the right time where and maybe it wasn't just figuring out. I mean, they were just able to, I think, just chip away and chip away and chip away. They had some big pass plays as well. I mean, Tillman threw 2 interceptions, but he had a few big pass plays, especially to
all to Dominic Bolden.
Dominic Bolden was absolutely huge for for Hazelwood East on those few plays right there. And then, you mentioned Terrence Little. He had a great game, but Dion Hentz Jr., he had 2 rushing touchdowns, that both of them in the fourth quarter to win the game. And, East, they go down and score, and then they pick off Ottensmeyer around midfield, and then they drive again, and then with under a minute to play, Dion Hentz, he scores on a 2-yard touchdown run, and that proved to be the difference. And then, to be fair to Ottensmeyer, his last interception was just a product of just having to force something. He had to it was like a little pitch. He would have gotten sacked, and it was picked off. So, so that was this is a great game between two teams who had good records, so there was really no upset or anything at all, but it was just it was shocking that, East as a team with a run-heavy offense, trailing by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, to come back and be able to win that was kind of stunning.
Yeah, very impressive, and congrats to the Spartans. They clinch second place in the Suburban Green, which was, kind of top-heavy this year, but still somewhat of a tough conference with Parkway North, Hazelwood East, and Parkway West. And huge for the Spartans, because they are the only team in their conference to hold their opponents under 100 total points scored this season. So as a team, Hazelwood East only allowed 85 points scored this whole year, a little over 9 points per game. So their defense is going to be a problem for teams to run into as we get into the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, to hold Parkway West under 20 points on the road is pretty impressive, I must say.
Yeah. All right, next up, we're going to get this out of the way for John, because he's not going to want to talk about it too long. So hopefully he can get through it without freaking out.
Well, if we can talk about, it better not be for too long, or else it's going to be bad.
Yeah, Fox Warriors defeat Ladue 26-20. And
Roman's genuinely happy about this.
I'm happy for Fox. Good for them. They broke a 7-game losing streak this year. They also broke
a 29-game losing streak over teams with winning records.
Yeah, definitely a streak-breaking game for the Warriors. They had, they won their first game of the year, I believe, it was against Melville, and they lost their next 7 games. A couple of them were nail-biters. And then they had also lost 8 straight one-score games dating back to 2020, where they beat Ladue 28-26 that year. And they had also lost 28 straight games against teams with winning records, and because they beat 7-5 St. Dominic 42-10 back in 2020 as well. And Fox didn't really stray away from their usual offense. They stuck with the run, and they got 321 rushing yards as a team, averaging over 6 yards per carry. Antonio Girillo had a great game. He had the game-sealing touchdown in the fourth quarter, actually. And, Ladue was just this was a stunner. I definitely did not expect to see this score Friday night when I was going through scores and checking stuff. And, in typical Fox fashion, they only attempted 2 passes all game, but Chandler Price was able to complete both of them for 35 yards, and one of which was a score to Gavin Pecoraro in the second quarter. So congrats to Fox on the big win. I know it's their, they finished the year 2-7, but it's definitely a good win to go into the playoffs, and they could win a playoff game, maybe 2, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think they wanted it more than Ladue, quite honestly, and I think it shows that Fox's players and their coaches did a good job of just getting up for a game when you're 1-7. That can't be easy. Your last game of the season, so they were able to play with a purpose And I mean, they actually beat Ladue last year, so I mean, they definitely, I think in their minds, they're like, well, why can't we do it again this year too? So even though Ladue's a better team this year than they were last year, we can still beat them. And they won this game in the trenches by far. 321 rushing yards. I think that might be their second most rushing yards they've gotten in a game all season. I could be wrong, but it's certainly up there. And I mean, they were able, 6 yards of carry right there. It sounds about right, because it felt like whenever they needed, a short gain, they'd always get it and then some. And that DJ Cox 60-yard touchdown run on the first drive was a statement right there. And I believe it was on like a 3rd and 5 as well. So that was, it spelled trouble for Ladue early on. Ladue took the lead actually 10-7, so they did kind of rebound, but it was always a close game. And if you're going to beat Fox, a good way to do that is to get ahead early and get a 2-score lead if you can, because their offense is a whole lot different when you're playing in front of them than compared to being just tied or behind. Because when you're behind Fox, they're a pretty tough team to beat with that offense that they have. I mean, they're physical.
They control the clock.
They control the clock. They're going to slow the game down. They want to keep the opposing offense off the field, and they did that. And I mean, even if they didn't, then it didn't matter a whole lot. But Ladue's offense, though, I mean, they had their opportunities to take the lead in the second half. They had 2 good drives to start the third quarter, but weren't able to finish. In fact, in the red zone, they had, I think, a first down at the 5-yard line and could not punch it in, and that's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's for the talent that they have to do that. So, but you got to give credit to Fox because they still held firm there, and then it just left the door open for Fox to eventually take the lead they had a really good sustained drive capped off by Jude Pribich's 4-yard touchdown run to take a 20-13 lead, and then Antonio Girillo again, they had another long drive and capped it off with a touchdown run to make it 26-13. And I mean, things got so bad for Ladue they had to take their quarterback out, and then weirdly enough, their second string quarterback actually directed a good drive, and then they scored to make it 26-20, and then Fox just ran the clock out. Ladue, they got a few first downs, and Ladue couldn't stop them, and that's how they sealed it. It could have been an interesting finish right there, but Fox made sure it wasn't interesting.
Fox likes to make things not interesting,
And
which is how they win games.
Well, and
you got to respect it.
They've made things interesting all season because here's the thing: Fox is they're not a typical 2-7 team because they've actually lost every game in conference besides Ladue. They lost by 1 score. They lost by 20-14 to
21-14 to Sekman in week 2. That was an out of conference game. But then week 3,
overtime loss. That was an overtime loss to Sekman. 21-14.
21-14, yeah. And then week 2, they got the schedule pulled up right there. 1-point loss to Ritter. Eureka, significant talent gap there. So of course Eureka wins.
Yeah.
And then against Smet, they barely lose that one by 6 points. Lindbergh, they lose by a touchdown. Ladue, they win by a touchdown. So they've been pushing to break that seal all year, and they finally get it. So congrats to Fox. Huge game for them. They got Poplar Bluff this week. That one should be interesting. I don't know too much about them. They're 3-6 so far this year. I mean, 3-6. They've won 3 of the last 4, so we'll see if they can keep that momentum going in the playoffs. But
yeah, Poplar Bluff's pretty battle tested like Fox. They've had a tough schedule. So that'll be an interesting game. And then on the flip side for Ladue, I mean, they've won a lot of close games. So it's not like this is a team who was blowing everybody out and then had one random bad game. So Ladue is actually ripe for an upset. I mean, you like to think that they're winning these games, and they have. You got to give credit to them for finding a way to win these close games. But they were close for a reason. I mean, they were had a 4-point win over Lindbergh and needed their defense to kind of bail them out in that game. The Ritter game was actually just a great football game. They won 40-39 early in the season, and then Summit, they had their defense needed to bail them out. They won 21-16 on a last goal line stand, not a goal line stand, but it was a red zone stand there. So this it's kind of been repeating itself all season for Ladue, but they just weren't able to kind of get themselves out of this tailspin that they had against Fox right there. So. It does set up for a pretty cool game for them against MICDS on Saturday that we'll talk about. And actually, it kind of helped Ladue in a way because for their playoff road. They avoid Cardinal Ritter, which they would have played in the second round if they would have won the game. So we'll see if it works out for Ladue ultimately.
Heck of a spin from the Ladue media over here, saying,
It is,
"Oh, the
it
loss
is what
was
it
actually
is.
good." Oh, okay. Well,
No,
would say
it does put a little dampen on the season.
Well, I would say it dampens the season massively because Ladue now does not outright win the Suburban Red.
Yeah,
They now share it with Summit. Both teams finished 3-1 in conference. And looking at this conference with Summit, Ladue, Ritter, Lindbergh, and Fox,
it's poetic justice that two teams share it.
one of the more balanced years we've seen in a while from one of the suburban conferences, because technically the champions, Ladue, lost to the team that finished in last place, Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the team with the largest point differential in the positive would be Summit, and they had 103 points allowed and 70 points allowed and 103 points for in conference. So over 4 conference games, their average margin of victory was 8 points. So pretty close for them, and they won the conference title. They got a share of it. And then looking at the team with the largest point differential in the negative, that was Lindbergh. They allowed 124 points in conference and then scored 83. It's a difference of 41, and divide that by 4. That's an average of a 10-point loss every week. So really not that much of a wide margin for a loss there. So really, really tight conference. So definitely make it interesting. All these teams, Summit, Ladue, Ritter, Lindbergh, and Fox. We talked a lot earlier in the year about how Ritter would tend to make every game they played super exciting, even though they would lose most of them. But Ritter finished 5-4, so they had a decent season. Ladue, this is a very bad loss for them, but overall, I think their regular season, I'd probably give them a B. I mean, I think they somewhat got above expectations. I mean, obviously the start to it and the finish to it against Troy and then to Fox was pretty rough. But I think the win for Ladue against Hazelwood East, that was huge.
Beating Summit and Hazelwood East was nice. And that Ritter win.
The Ritter win by 1 point in week 2 was pretty exciting too.
Yeah, it was an exciting victory to really kickstart their season. So
yeah.
I mean, look, and if they still look in years from now. People will still say, okay, you still won a conference championship even if you shared it. I mean, that's happened a lot over the years too. So I mean, you win 42 conference championships in your history, you're going to have some shared ones in there as well. So and look, I think if they can beat MICDS next week, that's gonna, I think, kind of not reverse things overall, but it's gonna make everybody feel better. That's like, hey, look, beat MICDS, get to the second round. Who knows what happens there? 7-win season there. So it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, if they were to lose to MICDS and then end the season on a 3-game losing streak and finish 6-4, yeah, it definitely dampens the mood for sure. So,
well, that's enough about the Ladue Fox game.
There you go. I'll step off the ledge.
Another very interesting suburban game we had this past Friday. Oakville defeats Northwest by a final score of 10-7. Oakville scrapes one out off the heroics of Gavin Anderson.
I was surprised how low scoring it was.
I know. I mean, Oakville got a field goal in the first quarter, and then neither team scored a point until the fourth. And unfortunately, Northwest does not have their stats in. Even the touchdown, we don't know who scored that on.
I'm guessing it's Cohen Stark.
Cohen Stark is, I believe he still leads the area in points scored, so it was most likely him for the Lions.
Well, he didn't. It was a pass, so we don't know who scored on that pass, but
he threw it.
Cohen probably threw it.
But, I mean, what has to be the difference here is the Oakville defense. I mean, 6 sacks for them, 4 sacks from Caden Updike alone.
Their defense
Incredible
has been really
game from Updike. I mean, that 4 sacks in a game, that is an extremely rare feat. That's like hitting 4 home runs in a game for baseball. You almost never see that happen. Yeah. So very, very impressive stuff from the Oakville defense there.
Outside of the Summit game where they gave up 31 points, the worst they've done is give up 14 points to Seckman and then Lindbergh, and that's it. I
mean, shoot, the 6 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, 1 interception. So the 6 sacks, 4 turnovers forced. They were able to, I mean, their offense didn't really do much at all and didn't even matter. Well, it mattered a little bit because, it affected kind of the flow of the game. But, I mean, if you just look at their points allowed these last 4 weeks, they allowed 7 to Northwest, who had a pretty good offense all year, allowed 7 to Webster Groves, shut out Melville, allowed 7 to Ritter. And then they allowed 14 to Seckman. Then they shut out Hazelwood West. And then, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, they allowed 31 points to Summit, which was their most so far this year. So even though offensively Oakville doesn't really do anything too flashy, I mean, Gavin Anderson is a pretty good running back. Their defense just is so scrappy and is so tough in the trenches, and they're really good at firing out low and keeping their feet going through contact. And the footage here isn't too great, but this is of their game against Northwest this past Friday. You can see the D-line just firing off the ball really, really well.
And they got a fumble
forcing a fumble. They just floated the ball really well as a team. Their linebackers are really good at shedding blocks as well. So really, really good stuff from that Tiger defense. And they
play Lindbergh.
Yeah, they got Lindbergh in round 1, and they finished second place in the Suburban Orange, which I'm sure they'd be happy with. I mean, this was, the bigger Suburban Conference because it had 7 teams in there, but I mean, how close they had against Seckman, they're definitely going to want that one back.
Yeah.
But
so they're probably not happy overall because that's how close it was. But
well, shoot, I mean, to finish 7-2, you should be happy.
They're happy.
Yeah,
with
be happy with that.
But they're just be like, wish we had that game back. You know, like anybody, how anybody would think about that.
We've seen Oakville in previous years.
They've come a long way.
They have. We've seen them lose games to teams they shouldn't, and I believe that they beat every team they should have.
I think so. Yeah.
Like when you look at. Oakville's not, as talented as CBC, but they're definitely more talented than they were in previous years, looking back, like 2018, 2019 seasons.
Honestly, and looking at that Ritter game, I think that was a game, I don't know if overachieve is the right word, but like that's the game they typically lose to, but they beat them. So I think that was definitely a sign of things already felt different, even like going into that week when they were 3-2 because they'd beaten Lindbergh, who admittedly has not been as good as they usually are this year, but that was still a pretty good win at the time. So yeah, to beat Ritter, that's their best win of the season, I think so far, and even Northwest Cedar Hill is a pretty good team too. But so those are 2 good wins for them there.
Yeah, and touching on Northwest for a bit, tough way to end the regular season, but I'm sure they'll be happy with 7-2. I mean, this is a team that finished 5-5 last year. So they're definitely taking steps forward, and
it's their best season in a while.
Yeah, I mean it's a program that it's kind of been one of the middling teams in the St. Louis area for a while, but 7 wins in a regular season. I mean, this is the most wins they've had in a season so far, in at least according to Misha, since 2010.
Yeah,
or past that. So most wins in a season for Northwest in 20 years at least. So huge congrats to Coach Scott Gerling and the Lions over there. Great stuff from them so far. I mean, they got a special kid in Cohen Stark at QB.
And he's only a junior, by the way.
Yeah, and because of the weird way their district worked out, and we'll talk about this later in the show, they got the 3 seed and Oakville got the 4 seed. So Northwest will get a bye this week. And then they go to Seckman, and that's going to be an interesting game. Seckman got the upper hand on them earlier this year, but hopefully that could be a closer game. I'm not going to pick that game yet because that's not for another week or another 2 weeks, but hopefully that's more interesting. But yeah, congrats to, tough loss for Northwest, but great season so far for them. I'm sure they're happy on their overall result.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Next up, out of area game, IMG defeats East St. Louis 38-14, and East St. Louis was hanging in there for most of the game. I was tracking on Twitter for a bit, but IMG is one of the most talented high school football teams in the country every year. I believe Max Preps has them at like the number 3 team in the country.
I thought it was
probably number 4, top 5 of the country. Their stats aren't up on Steel High School Sports, but I was able to locate an article on Rivals. And apparently the IMG running back is a Louisville commit. His name is Lakai Tompkins. He had 194 rushing yards on 21 carries, and he had 2 touchdowns.
A lot of people say he's kind of been the big difference maker for IMG this season.
And it looks like Reese Shanklin is back at QB for East St. Louis.
Yeah,
I know for a bit he wasn't getting some snaps. I don't know what the issue was there, but it looks like he's back, so that's good. But yeah, it's tough for East St. Louis. My son Johnson Cook had a good game. He had 101 rushing yards and a touchdown. So he continues to be one of the best running backs in the area.
Really, the country. I mean, he's recruited as a 4-star and has some big-time offers. And every game he's been really good for East St. Louis. I mean, Bergen Catholic and this game to get over 100 yards is really impressive against one of the best teams in the country. So he's certainly lived up to his star status and all the offers he's getting.
Yeah. So another tough way to finish the season against IMG for East St. Louis. They finish the season at 6-3. And now they got the Illinois playoffs coming up, which in recent history has generally been relatively easy for the Flyers compared to their regular season schedules, because East St. Louis is one of those weird teams where I will say a lot of people don't like East St. Louis, don't like the way they do things, but I respect East St. Louis because they do not dodge smoke. They go out of their way to schedule the most difficult schedule possible every year. I mean, they scheduled Bergen Catholic Week 1. That's one of the best teams in the country up there in New Jersey. Gadsden County is one of the better teams in North Florida, but they've had some issues this year, so they had to forfeit that one to East St. Louis. And then everyone knows Bishop Gorman. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country every year. It seems like they're top 10 nationally every year.
Yeah.
And then they lay waste to their conference schedule, and then they go back out of the state for a game against IMG. So props to East St. Louis for continuing to make a very difficult schedule. I think that helps them out in the long run every year. I mean, because what happens is they play this extremely difficult schedule, and then they get to the playoffs, and it's a cakewalk, usually until state, where they don't win state every time. And we've seen that. We've seen some upsets happen in the past, but I mean, shoot, for Plainfield East, I did some research on them. Poor Plainfield East, man. I think this is like their third playoff appearance ever.
Oh, no.
They have not made the playoffs very much in their school's history. And, of course, because of East St. Louis's record, IHSA isn't going to put them up very high in the rankings. So
well, it's all done mathematically.
So they're not going to – even though East St. Louis is by far the most talented team in Illinois Class 6, they're not going to be put as one of the top 2 or 3 teams. I think they're –
even though they're ranked number 1 in Class 6.
Yeah, they're ranked number 1. But their seeding, I think, is like
8th.
Yeah, 8th or 9th. Yeah, 8th
out of 16 in the South bracket.
Yeah,
out of 32 teams overall.
So tough draw for Plainfield East, but
and then if Chatham Glenwood, since they're the 1 seed, if they win against a really tough Joliet Catholic team, by the way, who's they're not one of the best teams, but they're incredibly battle tested as well. So it's like, imagine like that's a 16 seed in your first round. It's by no means a cakewalk. Then if they win, they got to go play East St. Louis in the second round. So that's got to be the toughest draw a 1 seed at any class ever in the 8 class system that in the IHSA that they've had since then. It's been it's got to be the toughest draw 1 seed's ever gotten.
If I'm Chatham Glenwood, I am extremely upset.
Yeah,
I'm extremely upset.
There's nothing you can do. I mean, that's just the system they're in.
I know, but it's. You gotta think that some exceptions can be made, but
no,
I guess not.
It would be fair.
Yeah,
they lost to East St. Louis in the quarterfinals last year, so we'll see what happens again.
We'll see what happens. Speaking of not being fair, CBC they defeated St. Mary's by a score of 56-9 on Friday, and CBC completes their first undefeated regular season since I believe was it 2015, 2016. It's been a bit.
Yeah, because surprisingly, it's been a while.
Well, I mean, kind of like East St. Louis. I mean, they don't schedule as many out-of-area teams as East St. Louis does, but they always have at least 1 or 2 very tough out-of-state games.
Yeah, well, in 2021 and 2022, they lost to East St. Louis both those years, even though the CBC ended up winning state. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I know. We loved the 2018 team, but they did lose, and they lost 1 game, and that was to St. John from Washington D.C.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're right about that 2015 team, because they ended up winning. They ended up winning state, and yeah, they did go. Well, first undefeated regular season team. That 2015 team actually did not win state. They lost to Blue Spring South, which. Hey, could happen again.
I don't know about that. I'm
just saying Blue Spring South is a really good team, and they would actually meet up in the semifinals if that were to happen. But I'm still betting on CBC, though. I mean, after all what I've said about CBC this season, I'm not picking against them, no matter what at this point.
You just saw some of the highlights of the CBC St. Mary's game, and I talked about their O-line last week after they defeated SLUH, and they're just so fast. They get downfield so well. They allow guys like Nick McClellan's stat lines every week are just ridiculous. He was 7 of 8 throwing the ball for 203 yards, 3 pass touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 carries for 112 yards, averaging 28 yards per carry. I mean, the kid's unbelievable. He has to win Player of the Year. That throw is diabolical. That throw was completely diabolical. That was into.
So is that downfield blocking too.
That was into seemingly triple coverage, and he just threaded the needle right to Corday Gage, and of course, Gage, being the athlete he is, escapes 5 guys in the same area secondary for a touchdown. It's not fair. Like, it's just it's totally unfair how much talent CBC has. And even St. Mary's, they're a talented team, but they're just no match for CBC and the Cadets. So it's just, I mean, they're so aggressive off the ball, and they're so fast at every position, not just the receiver and quarterback. Vic Williams, another good game, 10 carries, 82 yards. Caden Shea, 5 carries for 105 yards. What the heck? I mean, the CBC as a team puts up crazy stat lines every week. They had 585 total yards of offense. I mean, this game was never close. Never close. Never in doubt. St. Mary's comes into the playoffs as easily the favorite in Class 6.
Yeah.
And they get a bye week as well to start. But their district's going to be interesting. Class 6, District 2 is going to be very, very interesting.
It's arguably the toughest district in the state, but CBC is just that good. It may not be that big of a problem. I mean, because, Lafayette's going to be really good. They're undefeated as well, so we got to shout them out for their first undefeated season. Actually, it was their first undefeated regular season since 2023. But I just want to say, CBC, they are averaging 54.33 points per game.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Well, speaking of Class 6 District 2, another game we're going to jump to real quick. Rockhurst defeats SLUH 35-14.
I was surprised by that. That SLUH allowed 35 points in that. I'm not totally shocked that they lost because Rockhurst is a pretty good team, but I was just a little surprised they gave up 35.
I was, and this is another game where Jordan Taylor is pretty much the only offense for the Junior Bills.
Yeah, he's been great.
Jordan Taylor is amazing. He's an amazing running back, and I think the SLUH offensive line has been good this year. I wouldn't say great because they've been, I guess the play calling isn't on the offensive line, but their run game isn't super creative. So Jordan Taylor is kind of just making magic happen whenever he touches the ball, or at least tries to.
Yeah.
But SLUH just could not get a passing game going at all, and I would assume that put their defense in a bunch of bad spots. And Rockhurst is a very well coached team every year. I mean, they're the only all boys school in KC, so they're always going to be a talented team. And to my knowledge, they're the only all boys Catholic school in KC.
If it's just not that, but they're still they're the only large all boys school.
Yeah. And, SLUH was able to get 3 turnovers this game on defense. So their defense, I haven't watched the whole game. I was only able to watch some of the highlights. It just seemed to me kind of like last week, where their offense just continually had 3 and outs and continued to keep their defense on the field in bad spots. And
in this case, they did have a few turnovers.
Yeah. So, just going to watch some of the highlights right now. Rockhurst, they're a good team. They should do some damage over there on the west side of the state in the playoffs.
Well, they are in the same district as Platte County, though. So
why?
If their district, I don't know how much.
Why are the districts like this?
I don't know how much damage they're going to be able to do. But hey, Platte County is amazing, but Rockhurst is pretty good too. So, and you never know.
You never know.
I'll say.
You never know. Well, SLUH ends the year at 7-2. They're definitely not happy with the way they finished the season. I mean, they started off 7-0, and then played 2 really good teams in CDC and Rockhurst, and now they get a bye week, and they get Lafayette. So, outside of East St. Louis playing IMG, this is probably the most difficult 3-game stretch any team could possibly have in the St. Louis area. I mean, this is insane.
Seriously?
CDC, Rockhurst, and Lafayette, the number 1 team in the state, CBC. I think Lafayette's being ranked around 3 or 4 in Class 6.
I'm
maybe
pretty
fifth.
sure they're top. I don't know if they're even top 5, which is crazy, but they're ranked, and doesn't matter. They're still really good.
Yeah, and then Rockhurst is one of the best teams in Class 5.
Yeah.
So brutal end of the schedule for SLUH. We'll see how they can respond against Lafayette. I mean, Lafayette's defense has been amazing this year. So if SLUH can just develop their mid-passing game, just getting those crossing routes through the middle of the field and 15 yards downfield, I think they could score a few points against Lafayette, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah,
but
it seems like, these last few weeks, their offense has really been figured out. I mean, maybe even going back to the Lift for Life game where they only scored 13 points, and then they played Vianney and Chaminade and kind of did what they're supposed to do. But, against the particularly pretty good teams, it's been a struggle. And then, even you look at the Smet. I mean, the Smet's defense has kind of been given a lot of negativity this season, and SLUH scored 31 on them. So, which is fine. I mean, it's always good if you can score over 30, but, there's teams that are scoring, 40 and 50 and sometimes even 60 against the Smet. So, kind of wonder there, but you still can't count SLUH out because their defense has been pretty good, and it's just the playoffs, so you never know what quite can happen too.
Yeah. Sticking in the MCC, let's head over to the DeSmet game. The Spartans of DeSmet defeat Edwardsville 30-15.
And knocked them out of the playoffs, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Wrong. Everyone had thought that
it was just the people who weren't paying attention to all the predictions and the news that what could happen.
We had all thought that Edwardsville was playing for their lives here. And before we get to Edwardsville, I do want to shout out to Smet here. I mean, their offense continued to do good. I mean, only 30 points, but they had over 540 total yards of offense. Gabe Rodriguez had another really good game, 18-23 passing, 209 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And Cam Sharp, yet again, has a great game. So I think offensively, DeSmet has found their guys for the future.
Yeah.
And defensively, they were able to shut down Edwardsville. Edwardsville doesn't have their stats in, but I know Titan Davis got a pick, so that was good, big for him. Tavon Gregory also got a sack, so that was good stuff from the Spartans defense. And funny enough, so for DeSmet, they win this game. They host Marquette to start the playoffs, and winnable game. Definitely a step back last year from DeSmet, from Class 6 state champions to where they are now.
They're young. They have a lot of places.
They're a young team this year, and I think if they do finish at 6-5, that's never going to be meeting expectations when you're at DeSmet. But I think it's understandable given where they're at, and I think they have a lot to look forward to for the future. And for Edwardsville, they finished the year 4-5 in a very disappointing season. But the way that Class 8 worked out, Edwardsville,
Class 7.
That's right. They're not even in Class 8 this year. The way that Class 7 was able to work out this year in Illinois,
they ran out of 5-win teams,
which is crazy.
And they were the best 4-win team. They were the best 4-win team according to most opponent victories, and that's what got them into the playoffs.
Edwardsville's schedule was very difficult, and they played Chatham Glenwood week 1. They lost by a score.
Number 1 seed in Class 6.
They
played
a really good Lawrence Central team from Indiana in week 2. They played one of the best teams in Missouri in Jackson in week 3. They only lost by 5. And then
they played arguably the best team in Illinois in East St. Louis.
Yeah, lost that one. And then they played DeSmet, who is, not where they were in previous years, but still a solid team on the Missouri side. So they, at 4-5, Edwardsville sneaks in as the final number 32 seed in Class 7 in the Illinois bracket.
The play that got them into the playoffs was their last-minute comeback against Beverly East, where Gavin Frey caught a 22-yard touchdown pass from Yale Weaver with 10 seconds to play.
Yeah, back on, what was that, September 26th, so a month ago.
That saved their season.
Yeah, it did. That's crazy. I know that people have been clamoring for kind of a contraction of the Illinois playoffs to keep the system it's at right now, but maybe go down to 7 or 6 classes. Because, Edwardsville is the St. Louis team, so it's good for them to make the playoffs. We want them to succeed. We want them to win. Hopefully they can pull off the insane upset against Richards, but that would be a long shot. But when you're looking at the integrity of the system, it's like, does a 4-5 team deserve to make the playoffs? I think that 4-5 teams deserve the chance to make the playoffs, honestly, because with a schedule like this,
Yeah.
you could still be a good team and finish below 500. I mean, we've actually seen.
That's what happened to Nazareth Academy a few years ago in, I think, 2023. They ended the season 4-5, but they got in and then won Class 5.
And if everyone remembers Kyron Ellaby's Vianney squad back in 2016, they finished the year 4-5 after an extremely difficult.
I believe 2018. No.
2016.
Right,
It was 2016.
Sorry.
It was 2016. They had an extremely difficult schedule where they played Kirkwood, which was the year they won state.
Yes.
And they played Chaminade, who was really good that year. They played CBC, who was really good that year. They played an out-of-state team, I forgot who was really good that year.
Maybe I think it was Providence Catholic.
And Vianney finished the regular season at 4-5, and they went on to win Class 5. Yep, we got it pulled up. So they had Kirkwood, New Lenox, Providence Catholic,
Looking at that, by the way. So.
Battle, back when Battle was a machine over in Columbia, Chaminade, and then CBC. And then they got their revenge on Chaminade in the playoffs.
And had an unbelievable win over Staley.
Unbelievable win. Yeah,
like they overcame two separate 14-point deficits and to win that game.
Mm-hmm. And then they were able to beat Jamal North in the state championship game.
That was a great game.
So we've seen 4-5 teams win state before. So that's kind of where I think some 4-5 teams deserve a chance to get in, but definitely a lot of the non-St. Louis folks are not going to be happy about Edwardsville getting in. But if there were no 5-win teams left, then
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's so in that case, should Richards just get a first round bye then? Like if no 14-win team deserves to get in, like no, that's not how it works. It's just got to go with what works best next, and Edwardsville was the next team in the formula. So look, there's no perfect system for high school football playoffs, but I still like this system at least better than the current system that Misha has put in place. And there's a lot of adjustments that it could use, which I think we will explore at a later time for another day. But I still like the Illinois system, what they use there for the most part. And yeah, like a 1 seed like Chatham-Glenwood, they kind of got screwed over there. And then Edwardsville, I mean, no one's really that. I don't know how anybody can be really mad at Edwardsville for getting in, because
not everyone. They didn't choose that.
No, it is what it is, and like for Richards, they still get to play a 4-5 team, so it's a pretty competitive 4-5 team, but that's typically what you get in Class 7 in Illinois with all the big schools there. So it is what it is, and maybe it'll be an interesting game. So I'll be looking forward to that when it happens.
Shifting over to the U City Jennings game. U City defeats Jennings pretty comfortably. Final score here 38-6. U City finishes the year 8-1. This is their most wins in a season since at least 1999.
That's awesome.
So to the extent that
is
High
so
School
great.
Sports goes back,
That's awesome.
it's the most wins in a season for University City in quite a while. So congrats to the Lions. Sophomore running back, I believe he's a sophomore, Travis Allen. This kid's a heck of a ball player. 29 carries for 185 yards. It doesn't say exactly how many touchdowns he got. I would assume he got at least 1 or 2. He's been great for him all year. And Coach Will Franklin has done an incredible job at U City. I know that U City has always, for a while, they were kind of sitting around that 5-6 win mark, just kind of.
Not even that a lot of times, honestly.
Kind of just sitting there in the middle of their conference, not really threatening anybody. That was good. But they were always somewhat talented. Like they've always had decent speed, decent football IQ on their team, but they've never really been able to take that next step. And I think for them to come through this year and finish 8-1 with their one loss being to a really good St. Genevieve team is super impressive. And this was their first test since then. And defensively, they were able to come out firing off the ball really, really well. I know they had 3 interceptions this game. Jason Cotton, Christian Hill, and Kevin Killingsworth all got interceptions this game. And they had 2 sacks. Dart Barber, one of the best football names we've seen this year. Dart Barber, that's a sick name. And then Joshua McNeil also had a sack. So the Lions' defense has been great. Tough way to end the unbeaten streak for Jennings, but this is one of their best years in a while as well.
Yeah.
Probably
their best season since 2014.
Yeah, 20. So this is their most wins in a season since 2021. And assuming they win a game or 2 in the playoffs, this would be the most wins they've had since 2014.
Okay.
So another great coaching job done by Daryl Green. It's his first year of the program. So 2 coaches, Coach Franklin for U City and Coach Green for Jennings, doing incredible jobs over there in North County. Hopefully they can keep up the good work and keep harnessing that talent and help grow that talent over their 4 years at those schools. This clinches the Suburban Blue for University City as they finish 8-1 and 5-0 in conference. So congrats to them for a fantastic year. Hopefully they can take the next step and screw around and win a few playoff games. But I know
and win a playoff game.
Well, they should win their first round game, but they're in a very tough district. Very tough district.
I'd like to see. Well, I'd be really intrigued with this district because I think it's not so. I don't think there's one particularly big time favorite in this district. So, and I don't know if we quite know how good U City is yet. So that's why I got some hope for them there.
For sure. Next up, over to a rivalry game, I would say. These 2 teams, at least last year, hated each other. I don't know if they hate each other as much this year. But Cardinal Ritter defeats Lutheran North by a final score 42-22.
It was a close game for a little bit.
It was. The stats aren't in, unfortunately. But I would assume
we will have a video of the game later on, and hopefully tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah. Manny Ellis, again, had a fantastic game. 3 touchdowns for him. Continues to be one of the better running backs in the whole state of Missouri. And he's going to it seems like they've really been able – their offense has been getting more and more streamlined week by week with Ellis in the backfield and Rylan Moore really settling in at QB for them. Manny Ellis now has over 1,300 rushing yards. So incredible year for him. Cardinal Ritter's got McClure this week in the first week of the playoffs. That should be a cakewalk for them. They are by far the more talented team in that one. So really, really good way for Cardinal Ritter to finish the season with an emphatic win over to Smet in that shootout game, and then for to put up a bunch of points against Lutheran North. And, at least against the Missouri teams they've played since week 3, against Francis Howell, against St. Pius, against DeSmet, Lutheran North, their offense has continued to improve. Mm-hmm. So really good signs from the Lions. And for Lutheran North, caps off a really funky regular season. They finished 4-3.
Only 4-3. They only played 7 games.
Yeah.
Pretty rare.
However, those 3 losses were to the best team in Class 2, Blair Oaks, one of the best teams in Class 3 in Maryville, and one of the best teams in Class 5 in Cardinal Ritter.
Yep.
So
probably a top 20 team in the state.
Yeah.
Well, the Blair Oaks, they're a top 20 team too. Probably, arguably.
Even
top
though
10.
they're in Class 2, you could argue that Blair Oaks is
arguably
a top
10
team in Class. I wouldn't say Blair Oaks is top 10 in the state. That would be a bit of a stretch, but for Lutheran North to win their conference again, to win the Metro League is pretty big for them. And then, they got the other McClure score. They got McClure North in the first round, so definitely a game they should win. But, yeah, funny enough, I was actually on Friday, once I got home, it was the Sacramento State-Montana game on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And they panned over to the Sacramento State sideline, and it was Coach Wagner. I was like, hey, it's Coach Wagner. Good to see him over there. Good to see him doing well over at Sacramento State. But anyways, a few other games we'll go through briefly. A game you were at on Thursday, the Helias Live for Life game. This was a crazy, crazy game. I know the end of the first half was pretty insane. Helias defeats the Hawks 45-28, and Helias finishes out their undefeated regular season. They're 9-0. So talk to us about this game. I know you were there.
It was a cold night, but it was a fun cold. It's fall football weather there. Great venue at Helias. Ray Hendrick Stadium is one of the premier stadiums in the entire state of Missouri. Austin Weaver for Helias, quarterback, is a certified dog. 5 rushing touchdowns. It was kind of like you're gonna hate me to compare it to him, but Tim Tebow at Florida, where they always had those plays where he would just kind of, if it was within like 5 yards, they would just give him the ball and QB power and go to the end zone. That's basically what he did. 4 rushing touchdowns from all 1 yard out, and then I think he had another 2-yard rushing touchdown. So he had a lot of physicality was put on him, and he did it. And then outside of that, he had 3 or 4 really nice throws as well to receivers, where it was hard for Helias to get open. Live for Life did a pretty good job of their secondary of just of guarding Helias's receivers, which forced the Crusaders to kind of go in a different direction. But they were able to pound the ball up the middle pretty good, and that really kind of dictated the game a lot, in my opinion. And Live for Life, they got out to a really good start. In fact, Deshaun Moss had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in the game, which I don't think I've ever seen before. I've
That's insane.
Seen plenty of kickoff returns, but 2 in the same game. Because eventually, usually when someone runs one back, they're not going to see the ball again. But Helias kicked off to him again, and he scored. In fact, they did it 2 times. And his second return got out to about the 50-yard line, and the third time they kicked it to him, he scored on it again. And that was actually their only touchdown in the second half, where Helias just really took over there. They outscored the Hawks 31-8 in the second half. Lopsided score there, ended up winning 45-28. But there was this really funky play where at the end of it actually ended up not mattering, but I have to talk about this. So Live for Life, they get an interception about the 5-yard line, return it, but then it's called
their own 5.
Yeah, their Helias was right. Yeah, their own 5-yard line, and one of Live for Life players is flagged for a blindside block, and so they bring it back to the 4-yard line, and then it wouldn't have been a big deal, but then Live for Life, they were called for an illegal shift, and it was, by the way. They didn't have it on camera, but like one of their players kind of like just shifted, motion back in, and that was illegal. So then the ball's at the 2-yard line. It was half the distance, and they take a knee, and so they're down at the 1-yard line, and there's and then Helias, their coaching kind of, it made it ultimately a good timeout, but they waited way too long to call it because they called a timeout with 2 seconds left and realized, hold on a second, they're going to have to legitimately run a play here, because if they can't, they have no more room to take a knee. And so they did that with 2.9 seconds left. And so Live for Life, they're in a shotgun now instead of under center. They hike it, throw a pass. It's thrown behind the receiver. It's intercepted at the 20-yard line by Helias. And then the guy, the receiver, the defender, he has a convoy in front of him. He's got one guy who blocks would-be tackler, but he runs into his own man at the 5-yard line and is stopped short. I don't know if he would have gotten in, because there's still another, I think 3 or 4 other Live for Life players, but if they just would have had enough time on the clock, if they called that timeout earlier and they make that interception, then they would have had time to at least kick a field goal, if not go for the end zone right there. So anyway, that was just a pretty crazy end to the first half. Didn't lead to much, but Helias just completely steamrolled Live for Life in the second half right there. So that was just a really good response for an undefeated team who's actually not ranked in Class 6 rankings, by the way, which I find odd. But I would imagine they'd be ranked after this week, though.
Should be. Well, looking ahead for Live for Life, Class 3 this year is pretty tough. And if they want to I think they have the talent to make a run, but they got a tough draw. They got a really tough draw, because in Class 3 District 2, they got St. Genevieve and Valley Catholic in their district. That's going to be tough to get out of. And then if they get out of that, they would – the winner of Class 3 – I believe right now the winner of Class 3 District 2 will win their quarterfinal game. And then the winner of that would likely go up against Maryville, which is going to be a really tough game. And then you got Seneca waiting on the other side of the bracket to meet whoever wins that side of the bracket in the state championship game. So really, really loaded Class 3 this year. So, Live for Life has the hardest schedule in Class 3. They finished the year, I think, 5-4. 5-4 with a 1-point loss to a good Cape Central team, a close loss to Helias, a 1-point loss to SLUH, one of the better teams in Class 6, and then a 12-point loss to a pretty good Baylor team from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and they got wins. They got wins against MICDS, a solid Class 5 team.
Probably their best win.
Cahokia, a playoff team in Class 4, I believe. On the
I take that
side.
back. Cahokia is probably their best one. Yeah.
So as long as Live for Life can kind of tighten up on offense with their deep passing game, then they can make a run, but it's going to be tough.
Defense. I mean, they got to tighten up on both sides of the ball from what I saw. I think their offense is pretty good. I mean, their offense can be really good, but they just couldn't put it all together consistently, and their defense really struggled slowing down Helias' run game, and that's really how they got beat. So Live for Life, they're the most talented team in Class 3. I know Seneca's really good, but Live for Life, they are by far the most athletic team. They just got to play clean football, and just, not shoot themselves in the foot at times, and sometimes just kind of take care of the moment, and just not get beat. And if they can kind of clean up, not even all that stuff, but just clean up penalties, they're a really tough team to beat if they can do that.
Well, another game we'll talk about real quick. Zumwalt West defeats Hannibal by a final score of 31-28. This was an upset. I mean, this was...
They may not like that you said that, but
well,
on paper it is.
Hannibal came into this one 7-1 with their one loss being to undefeated Helias.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a pretty dominating win against Troy. And Zumwalt West also beat Troy, but it was by a much closer margin. So Hannibal came in. I think when we talked about it last week, we expected it to be a very close game. I actually picked Zumwalt West to win, even though Hannibal was favored. So congrats to Zumwalt West on a great win here. It's looking like...
This is their best regular season. I mean, it's not been the most graceful regular season they've ever had by any means, but 6-3 with this schedule is pretty good.
And this is going to be interesting because I'm sure, West obviously has to take care of business against Hal Central, but I'm sure Zumwalt West would love to get revenge against Francis Howell because of all the games in their schedule. I would assume that's the one they want back. They lost to Zumwalt North on a walk-off touchdown, but I think the way they lost to Francis Howell really irks them. But, just for Zumwalt West to continue to tighten up on both sides of the ball. I mean, their defense has been great since week 1, but for their offense to really get better week by week, Clayton O'Brien finishes the regular season. Well, these stats are incomplete because they don't have their stats in for week 9 yet. So through week 8, O'Brien had 1,327 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And then defensively, I actually want to shout out Ryan Wessler. Unfortunately, to suffer an injury, so he's out for the season. But he had a great season at linebacker for the Jags. He had 3 sacks, 1 interception.
51 tackles.
Yeah.
And these might be incomplete stats as well, like you said.
They are incomplete, yeah. They're not even complete stats yet. But the rest of the Zumwalt West defense has been great. I mean, Garrick Dixon, the K-State commit, has been great. Ethan Kidd has had a fantastic season. John Hauser as well, Ben Maskell. This Zumwalt West Jaguar defense has been, they held Kirkwood to their lowest point total the whole season with just 10 points.
Yeah. First game of the season, but still, that still counts. I mean, that's really good.
I mean,
we were kind of like surprised by that even at the time.
I mean, even looking at Kirkwood, they haven't even gotten close to just 10 points in a game yet. I mean, their next lowest total was 24 points in a win against Eureka. So this Zumwalt West defense is very legit, and we've been talking about that all season long. And I know they've got a huge senior class this year.
26 seniors.
And it seems like their camaraderie is just getting better week by week, which is so huge, especially in the long and grueling Missouri playoff system. And, with them not getting a bye week, they're going to have to continue to grind through, not play through injuries, but, play through being hurt. Because at least, in football, in the sport of football, everyone gets hurt. Not everyone gets injured, but everyone gets hurt. Everyone gets banged up. It's a long season. No one's going to be feeling perfectly healthy by the time playoffs come around, unless you are a pocket passing QB and you have an amazing O-line that you never get sacked. That's maybe you're a kicker or a punter. That's maybe the only time that you're not going to be banged up sore by this time of the season. So for Zumwalt West to kind of come together as a team, fight through these injuries, I think is big for them. Huge win to finish at 6-3 with a very difficult schedule. One of Zumwalt West's toughest schedules in recent memory, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, against Kirkwood, Zumwalt North, Francis Howell, Troy, Hannibal, tough schedule. Came out 6-3, finished. I mean, and they've won their last 4 games, so that's so huge. And again, congrats to the Jaguars, big win for them. And yeah, anything you want to say about that one?
That Francis Howell loss. I mean, that win over Hannibal just makes this season look a lot better now because you just look like, hey, they just got maybe a little unlucky against Zumwalt North and Kirkwood, and then like Howell's really their one loss where I think they'd, like you said, they'd be irked by that, but then they could easily be 8-1.
Yeah.
It's because if they lose the Hannibal, if it's like, well, they're 5-4, and that's probably really who they are. But now, like 6-3, it's like, well, they actually might have been a little unfortunate to lose a few of these games, and they're actually a lot better than that. So it's funny what one win can do for your season, and that's really cool. And they might be favorites to win Class 6 District 4 now, the way they're playing.
We'll get to this a little bit later, but Class 6 District 4 in Missouri is very interesting. Very, very interesting. But anyways, congrats to the Jaguars on a big win. One other game we'll briefly go over. Caneland High School in the Chicagoland area defeats Althoff by a final score of 55-28. And last year's Class 1 champions are out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
They did get bumped up to Class 4 this season.
Class 3.
Class 3, sorry.
But it didn't matter because they still had the same schedule, roughly the same schedule they had last year. Again, mostly the same teams, and just they weren't as good as last year. And yes, not having Deer Hill probably means you're not going to be as good as with having Deer Hill on your team. But yeah, this was a talented Althoff team, and just didn't all quite come together. They had a really tough loss to Mount Vernon, 29-28, where they led in the fourth quarter. So they're probably going to look back at that game of the season and think, like, man, if we just could have won that, then it'd be different. And who knows? I mean, I don't know what their seed would have been in the playoffs. And Class 3 is obviously tougher than Class 1. Yeah, so it's from an Althoff perspective, it's unfortunate, but I know there's a lot of people in Illinois that are probably grinning.
Yeah.
Because if anybody paid attention to all of the noise that Althoff kind of had to hear and deal with last year, being a 1A private school in the playoffs with like multiple D1 players on their team, so that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way last year. So this year, those same people are probably going to are really happy right now. So, but but it is what it is, and. I think Althoff will be okay next year, but it just kind of depends what they do because they got some pretty good underclassmen coming back.
Yep. A few other scores I want to briefly talk about. Chaminade defeats Hickman 37-27. Huge win for the Red Devils. They finished the season 5-3 and get a decently favorable playoff draw.
They play Riverview Gardens, yes. In the 6-3 game, but then next week they're most likely going to play Cardinal Ritter, and
they could make it interesting. I mean, I would pick Ritter, but they can make Chaminade can make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's interesting because they won, Chaminade won. They took Ladue's spot in the 3 seed, and they pushed Ladue to the 4 seed, which gave us the MICDS Ladue game that's going to be on tap for Saturday next week. So I'm happy that happened because that'll be a great game.
Yep. And Orchard Farm fans, nice try. You're not getting out of this one scot-free. I have to bring this up. Orchard Farm, formerly undefeated, loses to Moberly 36-30.
That came out. That honestly, that was probably more shocking to me than Ladue losing the Fox.
It was. I mean, offensively, Orchard Farm was fine. I mean, they had 475 yards of offense this game, and I believe they only had 1 turnover. But defensively, I don't know what happened. I mean, Moberly was 3-4, I think, coming into this game. Yeah, like they were not a good team coming into this game. I mean, they had somewhat of a hard schedule. I mean, they had to play Hillsboro, Kirksville, Marshall, or Hannibal. So,
they did beat Mexico, who's okay. I saw them against MICDS yesterday.
Yeah, just that puts a very sour taste in my mouth for Orchard Farm going into the playoffs. I mean, I still think Orchard Farm was a really good team, but that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Honestly, yeah, that's tough to see from the Eagles. I mean, they could have had.
They're still conference champions. They're 8-1, but yeah, I think they really probably wanted the undefeated season to validate their season at least until the playoffs. But I mean, I didn't even give a thought to this game going into this last week.
Neither did I.
So that's why I'm more shocked because like I said, I knew there actually was a universe where Fox could beat Ladue, but in this case, I never even gave a thought to Orchard Farm losing to Moberly.
Yeah. No other. I don't know of any other.
Sorry, Eagles.
I know. I hate to do that to y'all. I love Orchard Farm fans, but we had to bring it up. I mean, that's a bad loss. That's a really bad loss. You can't. We got to mention that. I'm sorry. Any other scores you want to briefly go over real quick?
Summit had probably their most complete game against Ritter. They won 29-0. So I just want to shout out Smet there for that win. I think that's it from my end as well. So, I think Cahokia, they had an interesting loss against Sycamore. I don't know how good they are, but again, that was a game I thought Cahokia would win, but they didn't. And so that means they got weirdly, by the way, we'll talk about it. So they got an interesting game coming up in Class 4.
Yep. All righty. So before we get into our top 15 games of the week, for Week 10, we're going to do a Missouri Playoff Districts deep dive. So, just a brief overview for the system we got this year. It's the same system we've had for well over a decade now.
Since 2012.
Yep. And this year, the districts on the left side of the bracket are districts 1, 2, 7, and 8, and that applies to all classes 1 through 6. And then the right side districts are classes 3, 4, 5, and 6. So typically the St. Louis area teams consist some District 1, but mostly Districts 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5. So we kind of got a split on the bracket for St. Louis area team, some on the left side, some on the right side. But first, going into Class 6, District 1, Jackson finishes at 9-0. They'll be the 1 seed. They get the bye. And then Seckman is the 2 seed. Northwest is the 3 seed. Oakville is the 4 seed. They're all at 7-2.
Ended up being a pretty good district.
So this is the weird case where the automatic switch rule comes into play for the MSHA playoff seedings. So even though Northwest had more playoff points than Seckman, Northwest had 39.52 points, Seckman had 39.17 points. Because Seckman beat Northwest head-to-head, they flipped with them. So Seckman got the 2 seed. I like that rule, by the way. It is a good rule. So Seckman goes to the 2 seed, Northwest goes to the 3 seed. And so now, okay, you got Jackson at 1, Seckman 2, Northwest at 3, Oakville at 4. But wait, Oakville just beat Northwest this past Friday. According to the MSHA rules, once a team gets switched, they cannot get switched again. So the switching goes from top to bottom. So it doesn't go, Oakville, and even if it did go from bottom to top, it wouldn't matter because Oakville didn't beat Seckman. But just a weird case here where even though Oakville beat Northwest not even 3 days ago, they have to play Week 1 against Lindbergh, which is not a gimme. I mean, Lindbergh's been, definitely a down year for the Flyers, but they might catch you the wrong way and beat you. So Oakville's got to take it seriously. And then
I think that'll be a better game than the first time they played each other, Oakville versus Lindbergh.
Hopefully. I just sighed in despair looking at Class 6 District 2 because
I despair District 3 more than District 2, though. I'll talk about it.
I can talk about it. I'm just getting really sad because CBC is the 1 seed at 9-0.
Nobody's feeling sorry for CBC.
No one's debating that. That's fine. Lafayette is the 2 seed. They're also 9-0. SLUH is the 3 seed, Desmet's the 4 seed, Marquette's the 5 seed. The fact that Lafayette got stuck with CBC is so unfortunate for the Lancers. I mean, I'm not going to totally count them out. I think Lafayette is a heck of a team. They're undefeated for a reason. I mean, they beat a great Kirkwood team. They beat a great Eureka team this year. The Lancers are having a fantastic year. But to get stuck with the best team in Missouri and CBC in your district is brutal. And even SLUH as well. I mean, SLUH is definitely not a gimme game. SLUH has one of the best defenses in the state. But we'll see how the Junior Bills offense can.
It seems like they've kind of been found out a little bit these last few weeks, though.
They have. And then Smet has Marquette in the first round. Again, the Spartans should win. But tough draw for Lafayette. Now we get to the district that really annoys us. Class 6 District 3. So before we show you Class 6 District 3, remember we just had Class 6 District 2. Undefeated CBC, undefeated Lafayette, both in the same district. Now we go to Class 6 District 3. Pattonville is the 1 seed. They're at 4 and 5 this year. Ritter is the 2 seed. Hazelwood Central is the 3 seed. Hazelwood West the 4 seed. Francel North the 5 seed. We got a 4 and 5 team, a 5 and 4 team, a 2 and 7 team, and 2 0 and 9 teams in the same district. even though Ritter has more playoff points than Pattonville beat them earlier this season, so they get the automatic switch rule to come in, so Pattonville gets the 1 seed. And we get winless Hazelwood West blessed with the ability to host a playoff game. Gotta love when that happens.
How many times has that happened?
It actually, so it happened, I know, at least twice last year across the state.
Oh.
And it actually happened again this year, I believe, in Class 1 somewhere. I forgot exactly who it was, but that's just silly. I mean, that's just, I understand how the map works and how you, kind of what Misha does is they start in the boot heel, that's District 1, and they kind of move up the eastern side of the state. So the Districts 2 and 3 usually include the St. Louis area teams and the Northeast Missouri teams. And then they kind of move across the central to southwestern part of the state. And then you go back up northwest. So usually the Class 8, or not, the Districts 7 and 8 teams are usually the KC teams, the Northwest Missouri teams. But I feel like Misha should have found a way to just switch Ritter and Lafayette, or switch Pattonville and Lafayette, because the fact that either Lafayette or CBC
SLUH,
even SLUH, I mean, well, SLUH's in the city, so that would have been kind of weird.
Yeah, but it would make a little more sense to just kind of configure something like that.
Well, just the fact that Lafayette or CBC is not going to win a district championship this year is criminal.
While Pattonville or Ritter will win one.
I know. I mean, Pattonville's a decent team. Ritter's a decent team, but it's just heartbreaking. That is just so heartbreaking.
I should be happy that a suburban team is going to win a district in Class 6, which rarely happens. Kirkwood bucked the trend last year, and maybe who knows if Lafayette plays an A-plus game in CBC.
Oh, my gosh. If CBC loses to a suburban team in the playoffs again, that would be...
I mean, that would be... As a suburban guy, that'd be pretty awesome, but I would look incredibly bad because I've said that CBC is the best team in the Midwest.
They have been. The CBC has had an incredible season so far.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have a lot more districts to get through.
I would have to swallow a lot of pride from my ego in order for that to happen. But that'd be crazy either way, though. And we do kind of root for craziness at times.
We do. So heading over to Class 6 District 4, another very interesting district here.
This is kind of a fun district,
It's a very fun district. This is probably, I mean, I'm the GAC guy. Of course I love this one. But this one should be a lot of fun. St. Dominic, they go 9-0. They clinch the 1 seed. Liberty, solid season for them. They go 7-2. They clinch the 2 seed. And then we get another automatic switch rule come into play. So Troy was the original 3 seed. They went 7-2. Zumwalt West was the original 4 seed. They went 6-3. And then Francis Howell, they were the original 5 seed. They go 5-4. So you got Troy at 3, Zumwalt West at 4, Francis Howell at 5. Okay, going from top to bottom. St. Dominic didn't play Liberty. Liberty didn't play Troy. Troy played Zumwalt West, and they lost. So Zumwalt West and Troy flip. So West now gets the 3 seed. Troy gets the 4 seed. And Francis Howell gets the short end of the stick because they played Troy and they lost to Troy. And even though Troy already got switched, that would prevent them from getting switched again. But Francis Howell beat Zumwalt West. So even though they were next to each other in the original points, if you just look at the points on the far right column.
This actually works out okay.
Even though Francis Howell, initially should have jumped West in a vacuum, they can't because West got out of Dodge and jumped Troy so that they couldn't be jumped by Francis Howell. So Francis Howell gets stuck at the 5
And
seed.
really, sorry to cut you off. On merit right now, I feel like that makes a lot of sense that Zumwalt West is the 3 seed.
It does. I mean,
Francis
Howell,
just like purely in a power ranking sense.
Yeah, I mean, Francis Howell's schedule their seasons have been really weird so far. I mean, they defensively completely suffocated Zumwalt North back in week 2. So that was very impressive. But since then, they've had a weird year. I mean, Jaden Ballard's been unbelievable all year for Francis Howell, but they then got crushed by Cardinal Ritter. They lost to Troy, and it's been a weird year for them so far. And then Francis Howell Central, the 6th seed. So this weekend we got Zumwalt West hosting Francis Howell Central, and then Troy hosting Howell. And the Troy Howell game is on Thursday, so that should be a very interesting game.
I will be there to film that game, by the way.
And then I'll briefly go over some of the other threatening teams in Class 6. Nix is the 1 seed in Class 6 District 5. They're 9-0. They're one of the best teams in Class 6. They made the Class 6 state championship game last season. District 6, there are 2 undefeated teams. You have Blue Springs South. A lot of people are ranking them as the number 2 team in Class 6.
Some people, I think mainly from Kansas City, think they're the number 1 team, but I think Blue Springs South kind of walks that district.
Yeah. Helias, they're also undefeated. They're 9-0. And then you got a solid Hickman team. They're at 7-2. A solid Blue Springs team. They're at 6-3. And then Rockbridge, they're at 5-4. So top to bottom, you could say that's the best district in Class 6 with 2 undefeated teams, and then the lowest seed is 5-4.
Yeah.
So straight up top to bottom, you could say that's the best team in Class 6. And then District 7, North KC is the 1 seed, 7-2. Decent team, but nothing crazy. And then District 8, Liberty, they're the 1 seed. Liberty KC, they're 8-1. Somewhat threatening, but probably not going to be a state title threat. Heading down to Class 5, we got a few St. Louis area teams in District 1. Farmington, they're the 1 seed. They're at 7-2. Cape Central, they're the 2 seed at 6-3. Webster Groves, they're the 3 seed at 3-5. Fox Warriors are the 4 seed at 2-7. And Poplar Bluff, they're the 5 at 3-6. And then Miller Career, who is co-opting with Summer and Vashon, they're the 6 seed. They're at 3-6. And then Melville is the 7 seed. District 2, we got Kirkwood as the 1 seed. They're 7-1. Eureka is the 2 seed. They're 7-2. Rockwood Summit, they're the 3. They're also 7-2. And then Rolla, Washington, and Parkway South at 4, 5, and 6. We could see a very interesting Eureka Summit second round matchup, and then Eureka and Kirkwood gave us a very exciting game earlier this year.
That's been a great game for the last 5 years, maybe and longer, honestly.
It has. So hopefully we get another super exciting matchup between those two in a few weeks. Heading over to the other side of the bracket in District 3, we got Hazelwood East as the 1 seed. They're at 7-2 in Class 5 District 3. Cardinal Ritter, they're at 5-3. They're the 2 seed. Chaminade, they're also at 5-3. They're the 3 seed. Ladue and MICDS are the 4 and 5. The 2 Warson Road schools, they will play each other this Saturday. They were not even a point separated from each other in the standings. So Ladue gets home field by 0.86 Misha points, and then you got Riverview and McClure at 6 and 7. And then the winner of that district will play the winner of District 4 in Class 5. Zumal North is the 1 seed at 8-1, and then Parkway West, they're the 2 seed at 7-2. North Point's the 3 seed, they're also 7-2, and then Timberland, Zumal East, Zumal South, and Parkway Central are at 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is along with District 3, a 7-team district, so only the 1 seed gets a bye. So Zumal North gets a bye a week.
I just want to say real quick, with what's so intricate and interesting with the point system is the reason why Ladue is ahead of MICDS by those points is essentially because Ladue was able to get down and score a touchdown with I think 3 minutes to play in the game against Fox, and for point differential purposes, that's essentially why they're barely ahead of MICDS. So everything it comes down to the most minute details with this, which is actually kind of cool.
One very interesting matchup though. So in the first round in Class 5 District 4, North Point's the 3 and Zumwalt South is the 6. So North Point hosts Zumwalt South, and this is a game that North Point totally gave away in the regular season. They lost as one of the Bulldogs. So if they can keep the turnovers down, they should be able to win, but we'll see. Great season so far for North Point. They're at 7-2, but they got to tighten up those turnovers to get some of a playoff run going. But
I'd like to see West versus North Point just because that would be a funky game.
It would be. It would be very interesting. Briefly going over the rest of Class 5, District 5, Lebanon's the 1 seed, but they're at 5-4. And I wouldn't. This
is another district where which is wrong with the Misha system.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume any of those teams are
that in District 1 as well.
Yeah, Class 5, District 6, Carthage, perennial, very good team down there in Southwest Missouri. They're 8-1. They're the 1 seed. Republic, they're the 2 seed. They're at 7-2. Really good season for the Tigers. Webb City, they're at 6-3. They're the 3 seed. Branson, really good year for them. They're 7-2. They're the 4 seed. So some of the usual suspects down there in Southwest Missouri. It's so weird seeing Webb City at 6-3. I know Coach Ryder.
They were last year, or 2 years ago, they were even
I know. I think they were 4-5.
Yeah,
a couple years ago, which is just crazy. Like, it's bound to happen. Coach Roderick retiring, but that's still crazy to see.
They still won their district last year too, despite having a losing record, entering the playoffs with a losing record. So it just seems different though this year because they lost to Carthage, they lost to Republic, but I mean those are two pretty close games against Webb City. So that's those are going to be really interesting if they can get there. Webb City they should beat Parkview, but yeah, after that it's going to be pretty interesting to see how
for the small handful of our viewers that are wondering why we're going in depth about Webb City. Webb City is arguably the best public school football program in the state.
They are.
Ever.
They are.
So
it's not even arguable. They are.
Yeah. We'll give them a little bit more attention because they've kind of warranted that. And then heading back over to the left side of the bracket in Class 5. Grand Valley is the 1 seed in District 7. They're at 6-3, so nothing crazy over there. But in District 8 in Class 5, the Pirates of Platte County, they're the 1 seed. They're at 9-0. And then Rockhurst, the Hawklets, who we just talked about earlier, defeating SLUH, they're at 7-2. So pretty good schedule over there. A pretty good district over there in Class 5, District 8. And then in Class 4,
Platte County is the favorite, I would say.
In Class 5, I would say it's it's Platte County, and then
they will get challenged by
Ritter.
Rockhurst most likely. Probably. Well,
Yeah.
I would say Kirkwood right now.
Yeah, Kirkwood's up. I would probably go
Out of our area, it would be Kirkwood.
I would say. I don't know. I picked against Ritter earlier this year, and they really burned me for it. So.
Yeah. Well, that was
deservedly so.
That was a one-off against me.
No, it was. It was.
Your GAC bias got in the way with Hal with that one, but
it
happens. I would say Kirkwood right now. They've been really
Platte
solid.
County, Kirkwood, Cardinal Ritter, Eureka,
Carthage,
Zumwalt North. Those are the threatening teams.
Yeah, and then Rockhurst. Did you say Rockhurst? I would throw them in there too.
Yeah. So back to so we got Class 4, District 1. Festus, they're the 1 seed. They're at 7-2 after a really solid season for the Tigers. Perryville is the 2 seed. DeSoto is the 3 seed. Hillsborough is the 4 seed. So if Hillsborough could beat Sykeston round 1, we could see a potential rivalry matchup in the second round of the playoffs. Then North County down in Jeffco, they're at the 6th seed.
District 2 is pretty crazy.
District 2, the 3 and 6 Vianney Golden Griffins are the 1 seed.
Good for them.
Sullivan is the 2 seed at 6-3. Union is the 3 seed. Westminster is the 4. Pacific is the 5. Athens at 6. Bayless at 7. I think Vianney wins this one. I think Vianney, with the Sam Dean-led Golden Griffins, I think definitely have the talent edge. And actually, they just had Kyron Williams' jersey retirement ceremony.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Last Friday. So that was very cool to see him come back home.
I mean, I think it's safe to say he's the greatest ever football player.
Oh, for sure.
I know Trent Green went there.
He did,
but
great quarterback. But
yeah, world champion Trent Green, because he did win a Super Bowl with the Rams, even though he didn't play that year because he got hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, what Kyron Williams did, like when 2 state titles for them, was a great running back at Notre Dame, and then he's doing really well in the NFL.
Great stuff with the Rams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to District 3, the undefeated Jaguars of Gateway STEM. They're at 9-0. They're the 1 seed. St. Mary's the 2 seed. They're at 6-3. The 7-1 Jennings Warriors, they're the 3 seed. Lutheran North, they're the 4 seed at 4-3. And then McClure North is the 5 seed. So
this is a really good district.
It is a really good district. I think Gateway STEM, I think this is their 2nd straight year going undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah.
So huge props to the Jaguars and their coaching staff, their players. Congrats to them. St. Mary's are talented. Not the juggernaut level they were back in the Kevin Coleman, Jamal Roberts days, but still a decent team. And then Jennings, they're solid. They're threatening. And then Lutheran North's always going to be sitting there ready to ruin whoever season they go up against. I mean, even though they're at 4-3, that's still a very talented team.
I know there's some assistant coaches at St. Mary's who were on the coaching staff at Lutheran North last year. So I think there's a pretty good chance they play in the district championship.
That'll be a very potentially spicy matchup there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how spicy it would be, but it's interesting right there, and because I think right now Lutheran North, I would assume they beat McClure North, and then I would think Lutheran North beats Gateway STEM, and then I would think St. Mary's beats Jennings. St. Mary's just way more battle tested than Jennings, so I'm going off of that. And I don't know. I'm not saying who would win right now, but it would probably come down to St. Mary's and Lutheran North in that district.
Yeah. Well, the winner of that district will play the winner of District 4, where Parkway North, they're the 1 seed at 8-1. Orchard Farm was the 2 seed. They're also 8-1. U City is the 3 seed. They are also 8-1. Holt's the 4 seed. They're at 4-5. Then you got Brentwood, Clayton, Lutheran, St. Charles, and St. Charles at 5, 6, and 7.
We gotta give our picks right here, or just who thinks we gotta win. Who thinks we can win?
This is the toughest one so far. I mean, this is.
I'm going with Parkway North.
I will pick Parkway North. You know, my man Coach O doing great work over there on Fifi, but Orchard Farm, they're a good team, but that loss in week 9 is not good. I mean,
Maybe they needed that.
Maybe they did. But hey, U City, they're hanging around, man.
They are.
They are a very talented team. We talked about them and their game against Jennings, and how sophomore running back, I already forgot his name. I'm terrible for that.
Allen?
Unfortunately. But I mean, they're a threat. I mean, they're 8-1 with not the best schedule, but I mean, I think
them beating Jennings by a lot is pretty good.
It is pretty good, and I think the early season loss to St. Genevieve kind of got their head straight. It's like, you know what, we're a talented team, but we're not world beaters. So as long as we just stay honest and keep working, we can get better. And they've gotten better week by week. Travis Allen, running back for University City. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that should be interesting. I'll pick Parkway North, but it'll be tough. It'll be a tough road.
You know, Holt, they can't. You know, I'm assuming Holt's going to beat Clayton, and Parkway North can't overlook Holt there, but I would imagine they win. North's been really good at winning close games this season. I mean, their best win is beating Hazelwood East in overtime and coming back from an 18-point deficit. So they've been pretty solid this season. Then District 5, Hannibal at number 1, Odessa at 8-1, Warrington at 6-3, Mexico at 5-4, Kirksville 4-5, and Marshall at 3-6.
This is interesting seeing Odessa in Class 4. I feel like they were in Class 2 for a little while there.
They were in Class 3 last year.
And I guess they've kept increasing in class. Odessa won state. They had a 15-0 season back in 2019. Incredible team over there, and I guess they're an exurb of KC. You kind of pass Odessa when you're on I-70 going to Kansas City from St. Louis. Really good program over there in Western Missouri. And then District 6, West Plains.
I'm gonna go with Hannibal to win that district, by the way.
District 6, West Plains. They're usually a decent team, but they're always a team that notoriously flames out when they get to the quarterfinals. District 7, Warrensburg is the 1 seed.
That's all I got to say about District 6.
Yeah, I mean,
look at Rogersville; they're a good team.
Yeah, Carl Junction, they're all right, but
they're right next to Webb City, by the way.
Yeah.
Carl Junction.
Nothing crazy. District 7, Warrensburg 6-3, solid team. Nevada 6-3, Harrisonville 6-3, Lincoln College Prep 6-3. Well-rounded district there, I guess. District 8, just like Class 5, how District 8 has that sneaky team. Well, not sneaky team, but for the St. Louis folks that don't go all the way to the end of the districts to look at the teams.
This
the Class 4 favorite, Kearney, is in District 8. They're at 9-0.
Savannah is right behind Kearney, too, as being a favorite, too.
And so, yeah, Savannah's a heck of a team. So the fact that these two teams got stuck in the same district is also kind of a travesty,
Big travesty.
Honestly.
And Smithville is always solid. Another 7-2 season for them. So you got 3 state-ranked teams in the same district, and that's ridiculous.
That's brutal. That's just
in Class 4, which is already pretty lean as far as like overall top-end talent goes. So it's you're gonna have 2 teams that are gonna be burnt off after the first few rounds.
Yeah, and that'll do for Class 4. I guess the favorites overall would have to be Kearney,
Savannah, and Parkway North, probably. Festus.
Potentially.
Festus, Parkway North. I mean, it feels weird.
I wouldn't count out Hannibal completely. I mean, they're pretty good.
No. They're right there, too.
They're hanging in there.
Lutheran North, I wouldn't say they're strong. Like I don't think St. Mary's and or Lutheran North are strong favorites right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they can definitely play spoilers.
Yep.
Especially if it's their day and it's not the day of someone else. So I mean, both teams have a lot of talent.
Yep. Now go down to Class 3. Starting to get a lot less St. Louis area teams. We get to the smaller classes, so we'll kind of briefly go through these. District 1, Dexter, they're 8-1. They're the 1 seed. Park Hill Central, state champions from a couple years ago. They're at 5-4.
I actually got Park Hill Central winning that district.
Should be an interesting one to watch. District 2, Valley Catholic, they're the 1 seed. Live for Life, they're the 2 seed. St. Genevieve, they're the 3 seed. It's because Live for Life's schedule is so difficult, even though they're 5-4, they are seeded above 8-1 St. Genevieve, which I think is pretty fair.
Yeah, I like how these districts actually kind of I don't like how these teams are placed with the classifications and the assignments, but for what they are in the districts, these typically ended up being seeded pretty good.
Yeah. And then Herculaneum, they're at 5-4. They're the 4 seed. John Burroughs also at 5-4. They're the 5 seed. They got Normandy and Lutheran South to round it out. I would pick Valley Catholic.
You have to at this.
But Live for Life right there.
pick.
I think it's between. I think because Live for Life's going to play St. Genevieve in the second round.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a heck of a ball game. That's going to be a really, really good game. So the winner of that most likely going to play Valley Catholic, and that would be kind of cool to see the St. Genevieve rivalry in a district championship format. Mm-hmm. That would be pretty cool. But I would personally like to see Live for Life win the district. But for now, I guess I'll pick Valley Catholic.
Valley Catholic, I don't think they've never gotten out of a district in Class 3 in the years that they have been
in the newer format with the success factor, because Valley Catholic was
they're Class 1 in raw.
Valley Catholic was running at Class 1 for the better part of a decade.
And they didn't win Class 2 last year. No, they didn't.
I'm gonna double check. I think they.
No, they didn't make it. They didn't make it to state last year. But 2 years ago, they
got second in state 2 years ago.
They lost a heartbreaking game at state 2 years ago.
That's right, because they had Valley Catholic made the state championship game
in Class 2
every year from 2009 to 2015, and then they made it again in 2017, 2019, 2023. So perennial powerhouse down there.
Yeah.
In St. Genevieve. Anyway, moving on to District 3, we got Borgia as the 1 seed. They're at 5-4. St. Clair, they're at 6-3. They're the 2 seed. St. Charles West, 3-6. They're the 3 seed. Wright City is 6-3. They're the 4 seed. And then Principia, Winfield, and Owensville are at 5, 6, and 7. I mean, I guess I'd pick Borgia, but Wright City has been solid this year, so could be the Wildcats. We'll see.
St. Charles West sneaks into the 3 seed with 3 wins.
Yeah. Kind of a
Borgia, they haven't been on good form the last half of their season. I don't really know enough about the rest of the district though to really have a conclusive answer though. So yeah, it should be a tight one again, and it's a funky district right there.
Yep. And then we'll just briefly go over some of the other threats in Class 3. In Class 3.
Osage had come out of District 4 at 7-2, and they actually beat Borgia 13-12 this past week.
You got Mountain Grove in District 5. They're 8-1, and then Seneca. They've been the favorites to win Class 3 all season.
They're gonna have a tough game if they play Cassville. Cassville is a really battle-tested team for Class 3 standards, and they got some pretty good wins.
Yeah, Seneca actually just lost by 1 to Lamar in an unbelievable game in Week 9. That was the best game in Missouri this past week. Lamar defeating Seneca by 1. That was a crazy, crazy game. 2 great programs going at it down there in the southwest part of the state. But so that should be a very interesting district between Seneca and Cassville. I would pick Seneca for now.
Seneca's dealing with some injuries as well, but I heard they're supposed to be back for the playoffs.
And then District 7, Knob Noster, they're the 1 seed at 8-1. I guess Boonville and Clinton look pretty solid too. And then District 8, Maryville.
I'd pick Boonville to win that district though.
Maryville, the team that we talked about a bit a couple weeks ago because they defeated Lutheran North. They're at 7-2. The Spoof Hounds, one of the better mascots in the state.
In a state that lacks creative mascot names.
For the most part, yeah. And then Richmond, they're at 7-2 as well. I guess my picks right now to make the state championship game in Class 3, I will go with Maryville and Seneca.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's hard to argue with that, but
Class 3 is
you
is
can't.
tough
You
this year.
can't. I mean, Valley Catholic is going to be
I know.
a favorite if they get whoever. I mean, Valley Catholic and Live for Life are going to be big favorites because I think whoever wins District 2 will beat whoever comes out of District 1.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Class 3 should be very interesting to watch this year. Very, very interesting.
yeah, we'll be keeping our eyes on that
And
more
then-
closely than usual.
Yeah. Class 2, very few St. Louis teams left. District 1, Caruthersville 7-2. Jefferson from Jeffco, they're 4-5. They're the 4 seed.
And then another team from
St. Pius, they're the 2
yeah.
seed at 4-5.
Festus St. Pius.
And then, so another case of the automatic switch rule. So even though St. Pius had more playoff points, they actually lost to Caruthersville earlier this year, so they go down to the 2 seed. District 2, Montgomery County, they're the 1 at 7-2, and then the 2 seeds Bowling Green at 3-6. Bowling Green had an amazing year last year. I think they barely lost to Lamar in the Final Four, and I think Bowling Green was like 12-0 going into that game, and they lost to Lamar. And then Bowling Green, I guess, graduated a bunch of seniors, and now they're 3-6. That's kind of too bad to see. But Priory, the Ravens, the Rebels, some of the OGs might say, they're the 3 seed at 2-7. And then Herman at 1-8, Cuba 2-7, Duchesne 1-8 in District 2. District 3,
Mountain View from
the other Liberty, the third Liberty, Mountain View.
Yes.
They're at 7-2, Springfield Catholic 7-2. But
Fairgrove, who went to state last year, they're 5-4 in Class 2.
and the team they played in state last year, Lamar, they lead District 4 right now. Lamar is 6-3 right now.
They finished 6-3 last year. Wait, no, I think they finished 5-4 last year and then won state.
They did. I mean, we talk about Webb City as one of the best public school teams in the state historically. Lamar has very quickly, over the past 10 years, put themselves in the conversation as well. I mean, they since 2011, they have 10 state championships, and they're a very small public school in a very small town in southwest Missouri. That is actually where former President Harry Truman was born. It was in Lamar, Missouri.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Lamar, after a ton of injuries to deal with last year, they won state last year in a game that we were at. That was an incredibly exciting game. But, yeah, the Lamar Tigers are one of the best programs in the state. You talk about just consistent success.
And really,
year in,
and
year
one of the
out.
best small school programs small school public school programs in the entire country, really.
Oh, for sure.
Over these last 15 years.
I mean, that whole community has just completely bought into their football program. It's paid them so many dividends. I mean, Lamar doesn't do anything crazy. I mean, all they do is just lift their tails off. The second, I think I'm not sure exactly what their program is, but I think it's when their boys hit 7th grade they start lifting a lot. It might be 6th grade,
All right.
but once, I mean, they physically do not look like a Class 2 team because they're always very, very strong, fire off the ball very well, and are very well disciplined. So 6-3 this year, but you can't count them out because they're always going to be trouble.
I mean, they just beat Seneca.
Yeah, I mean, they just beat one of the best teams in Class 3. So
Yeah.
going to be a heck of a team, heck of a run. District 5, Blair Oaks, the 1 seed. They're at 9-0. I think they're the favorite right now to win Class 2. They were in Class 3 for a while there.
And they're down because of enrollment.
Yeah, and you know, Blair Oaks has. We're talking about good public school programs. They have been fantastic this past decade. I mean, they've got 6 state titles, 4 of which in the past 7 years alone. They've been unbelievable. 9-0 so far this year. 13-1 state champions last year. I mean, you look at their points per game and opponents' points per game. They're just rolling through their schedule. And they crushed Maryville week 1, one of the best teams in Class 3. They crushed Lutheran North, one of the best teams in Class 4, week 2. They crushed Osage, one of the better teams in Class 3 in week 3. And then they've
crushed everybody.
I know. They have just completely laid waste to their schedule, so they have to be the favorite in Class 2.
That Lutheran North game was a little closer than what that final score indicated, but yeah, they still 40-balled them.
Yeah, that's insane. unfortunately, they're on the same side of the bracket as Lamar, so they would play in the they would play in the semifinals, I believe.
That'll be an awesome game.
It would be. But in District 5, you got Blair Oaks, they're 9-0. Centralia, they're 8-1. Warsaw is 9-0. They're the 3 seed. North Callaway, they're 8-1. They're the 4 seed. So more of this, and I'll just go straight to District 6. District 6, the 1 seed is 3-6.
Oh no.
So in District 5, the 4 seed is 8-1, and in District 6, the 1 seed is 3-6.
They need to seed regions.
How does this happen? How does this happen?
When you don't seed regions, this is what happens.
I mean, this is so unfortunate. You got teams like Warsaw and North Callaway having all-time seasons. I mean, like, I don't know much about Warsaw, but you know, last year they had a really good year at 10-1. But
so they went undefeated.
They did
in the regular season.
They did, but in 2015, Warsaw, they are. They did not win a game for 2 years, from 2015 to 2016. This is a program that historically,
So within 10 years.
they've won state twice, but it was a very long time ago. I believe back in the 80s. So in the recent memory, they've been terrible. So they're kind of back at the top, and now they get stuck in the same district as Blair Oaks. So it's like, what the heck?
Wow.
That's just brutal to see.
Warsaw's strength of schedule is probably not the greatest because like they've been their points per game and their opponent points per game is really, really good, but they're still only the 3 seed. So I would imagine their strength of schedule kind of comes into play right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to Centralia.
But yeah, and then District 7 and 8, Monroe City, they're 8-1. District 7, Mid Buchanan, they're 9-0 in District 8. Could be a threat, but for now, it's Blair Oaks versus the field. Well, I guess it's Blair Oaks versus Lamar versus the field.
Yeah.
I mean, Blair Oaks is
Lamar's probably the best team from the field.
Yeah, but Blair Oaks is unbelievable so far this year. The Falcons are insane. I guess we'll briefly go over Class 1. I think we have a handful of teams from the St. Louis area in Class 1, District 1. We got District 2, I should say. Class 1, District 1, Charleston, they're the 1 seed, 5-4.
Saxony Lutheran's been great this year for this is their first year.
This is Saxony Lutheran's first season as a program for a varsity season. They're a private school down there in the Jackson, Cape Girardeau area. They're at 4-4. That's incredible to have a full varsity schedule and then in your first year go 4-4 for a very small school. Shout out to their coaching staff, doing a great job so far.
And I mean, they're in the Jackson. They're located in the Jackson school district, so like it's maybe not all that shocking that they get some pretty decent football players and some good coaching because that area is just amazing for football.
Yeah, it is. And then District 2, we got 3 St. Louis area teams. You get to be the map pulled up right there with Hayti, Portageville, Malden, kind of down there in the boot heel, and then Charleston down there. And kind of by New Madrid, and then Saxon Lutheran up there in Jackson. And then in Class 1, District 2, we got Grandview and Hillsboro having a really good year so far. They're 6-3. They're the 1 seed. Van Far up there in Vandalia, they're 5-4. Crystal City down there next to Festus, they're 3-6 so far. They're the 3 seed. And then VCA, the Veritas Christian Academy Eagles, they're at 3-3. And then Louisiana is the 5 seed. So just like last year, VCA, we get to host Louisiana in the first round.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can win. That should be interesting. But
that's great though. But it's like you're moving up. Like there's progress.
No, I cannot overstate the amount of progress we have made since last year. I mean, 3-3 may not look crazy, but I can promise you we have made such big strides from last year, and I know me and the rest of the coaches are so proud of our boys and what we've done so far. And it's day by day. It's come in, put good work in, fall in love with the process has kind of been one of our mantras for this year. And we know that we're not going to be Class 1 champions our second year as a varsity program again. But it's just building the good programs we're trying to emphasize. And it's just coming in, getting good work, coming to the weight room, lifting hard, paying attention while watching film is a big part of what we do. And great season so far. Hopefully we can win this week against Louisiana. That would be so huge because that would be our first playoff win in 5-6 years, I think. So that would be so huge.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you think has been the biggest difference that the kids have made in your opinion?
I just think physically last year our senior class wasn't that big. Like our current junior class is where I think a lot of our talent is. And so last year they were sophomores and it was their first year of the varsity season. And at least everyone, that was their first year playing varsity competition. So that was a big wake up call. I was like, okay, this is a different speed of football compared to what we're used to. And for a lot of the guys, it was their first year ever playing football last year. So just to get, as a team, our football IQ isn't insane. Like it's not like it's a class 5 level football IQ, but I think the boys generally understand the game a lot better. I think just the senior leadership this year has been very good, very, very good. Just kind of making sure everyone's showing up on time, paying attention to details, getting the little things right. But it's been great this year so far. It's been really good. If you include, because we've played kind of a hybrid schedule so far, 2 JV games and the rest are varsity games. So if you include the JV games, we're 5-3, which is huge because that seems cheesy to include your JV games, and it kind of is. But we're still in the very early stages of rebuilding this program, so we're going to appreciate and build on every win we can get. It's been a great year so far. So hopefully we can shock the world and win the district. So we'll see. This is the only time I will outright root for a team to win the district as VCA.
Nice.
But. Yeah, so go Eagles. Hopefully we can come through and win some games in the playoffs. But, yeah, and the rest of Class 1, you got some solid teams, Thayer, Marionville, Tipton, Windsor, Salisbury, they're 9-0. Putnam County, they're 9-0. So it should be fun. Any other district points you want to make before we move on to Week 10 games of the week?
Yeah, I didn't really give out my Class 5 predictions and 6, but I'll just go through. So Class 5, I think Farmington's going to win that district. They've been really good. I mean, their offense is under Coach Eckley has been pretty fantastic whenever they, not just run into some really good teams. And they're a little unfortunate to lose to Festus. That was their only other loss besides losing to Jackson. I think Kirkwood's going to win District 2. They've been rock solid, but you can't count out Eureka. You can't count out Eureka, and you also can't count out Rockwood Summit. But I just think Kirkwood overall is just more talented, and their defense has been really good all season. District 3, I think it's going to be Cardinal Ritter, even though they're not the 1 seed. I think they're just they really could beat everybody by 20 points. I think that's just how good they are and what they can be. They can be a little weird at times, but for the most part, they've won every game that they're supposed to win and have done so in flying colors as well. So I'm going to go with the Lions there. District 4 probably will come down to Zumwalt North and Parkway West, but I'm going to go with the Panthers in this one. Parkway West, if they can get to that game, it's probably a bad matchup for them because they do struggle against run teams, and Zumwalt North can particularly be really hard to play against if you struggle to stop the run, especially with the spread option offense they have. And Jaden Burleson's been a big difference maker since he's come back.
We forgot to mention that he is back.
Yeah. So now they're really at full strength, and I don't know how many injuries they have, if they still have any, but they pretty much got all the.
Xavier Jackson's back as well.
Yeah, so they pretty much have all their important players back and healthy as far as we know. So that's absolutely huge for the Panthers.
Yep.
There and but if they play Cardinal Ritter, I'd favor Ritter in that game too. Just so talented. But I think that'd be definitely a more competitive game than it was 2 years ago when they played, when it was an absolute blowout win for Cardinal Ritter. And then Kirkwood would play Farmington, and I'm still going with the Pioneers in that one. So I think Kirkwood will get back to the Final Four for the second season in a row. And not going to go, but ultimately I do have Platte County favored to win Class 5 there. So that's as far as I'll go there. And Class 6, Jackson should win District 1. I don't know how many consecutive. I think they've won, 8. Sorry, 8 consecutive districts, if I'm not mistaken.
I will double check that real quick.
I can't remember the last time they've not won a district. Maybe in 2022 they didn't win one because that's been their kind of their last.
2022, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
They've won their district every year since 2018 except for 2022.
Okay. Yeah. So then if CBC wins District 2, then they'll play Jackson, and then they would play them. It's an odd numbered year, so CBC would have to go down to the pit to play Jackson. That'll be a great game.
Oh, that would be.
It'll be a rematch.
That would be fun.
It'll be a rematch of 2 years ago when CBC went down to the pit and won quite convincingly. Not counting out Lafayette, because I do think Lafayette will beat SLUH. And that Lafayette CBC game I think will be pretty good. Pretty good one right there. Pattonville against Ritter. I honestly could not predict that game wholeheartedly, but I'm gonna have to go with Pattonville in that game. You can't really trust Ritter in close games at this point. And Ritter, they were beating Pattonville. They had a 13-point lead when they played them earlier in the season, but Pattonville came back to win. And I guess I'm just gonna go with Pattonville by default. But like if Ritter showed that they were able to win close games more consistently, I would pick them. But I just at this point got to pick the Pirates. District 4. This is really fun and pretty tough, but I'm gonna go with Zumwalt West. I think them beating Hannibal is a big statement win, I think. And St. Dominic's been great, but they're not so quite battle tested, and they may not win a game. I mean, if they play Troy, that's going to be a tough game, and even if they play Howell, that'll also be tough. So, but they very well may beat those teams, but it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be a close run. And Liberty, I think they should win their first game. Wait, actually, they get a bye, I believe, or no?
Yes.
Okay, they do.
Yep.
Yeah. So they get a bye, and I think West will beat them, and then I think West ultimately wins that district, and then I think Nixa wins. They should probably walk District 5, and then same thing with Blue Springs, although Helias will be tough, and then that's all I got there.
All right. Now into our top 15 games of the week for Week 10. So bear with us here because Week 10 is always funky because there's a lot of teams with bye weeks on the Missouri side, and then a lot of other 4 and 5 games that just not good matchups. So there's a lot of Illinois games to cover, and there's a lot of out-of-area Illinois teams we're going to have to pick games about. And I don't know about you, but me personally, I don't follow Chicago area football very much or Springfield area.
So you don't follow Illinois football that much?
Not really.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. So I'll hopefully be picking some of these games correctly. We'll see.
I do follow Illinois football quite a bit, so I'll have a better idea of what to expect in some of these games.
Hopefully. But the first game we'll talk about is on the Missouri side in Class 5. This is District 4, I believe.
Correct.
Yes, it is. Zumwalt South is at North Point. The Grizzlies are favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is at 48.5. Earlier this year, these two teams played. Zumwalt South won in a stunning, I believe it was a 1-point game.
29-28 victory.
Yeah, and that was after North Point, I think, had like 5 turnovers. So as long as Tavern Green can just take care of the football, I like North Point
Tavern Williams.
Tavern Williams, sorry. I don't want to say Tavern Green.
I remember I showed you the score of that game, and like you were just shocked.
Yeah, I was.
I remember where we were when that happened. That was just a funny, raw reaction from you.
Yeah. Tavern Williams just got to take care of the football. And if they can get Anthony, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Is it Boffer? I forgot how you pronounce his last name. But the running back for North Point, if they can get him going, that'd be huge. But just cut down on the turnovers, and I like North Point here. I will go with North Point to cover, and I will go with the over.
This is it's such a weird. I wouldn't say Zumwalt South's kind of a weird team because usually they're kind of like you get what you see from them. This is Zumwalt South started out 3-0, and since then this is their only win since week 3 over North Point. They've definitely gotten to the harder part of their schedule, like had to play Zumwalt North and Liberty, and then they actually gave a decent game to Warrenton, but lost 13-0. But yeah, they lost to Zumwalt East and Washington, Zumwalt South, and so it's just really hard to trust them at 4 and 5. And North Point, even though they're actually 7 and 2. They're only lost. I mean, I don't think at the beginning of the season we would have been that surprised had they been 7 and 2. because they did beat Liberty, which is by far and away their best win of the season. But yeah, them losing to Zumwalt South was kind of a surprise, big surprise actually at the time when that happened. So I think I'll still go with North Point to cover, but I think this will be a close game. And sorry, let's see that spread real quick. So we got a 48.5 over/under. I'll take that over. So I do agree with you.
All right. Staying on the Missouri side until we get to Illinois. We got Lindbergh at Oakville. This is in Class 6 District 2, right?
Class 6 District 1.
District 1.
Yeah.
Classic District 1 first-round matchup. We got Oakville favored by 9.5 points. The over-under is at 44.5. These two teams have not played yet this. Actually,
yes,
they
have.
played
Week 1.
That's right, week 1. They did play.
This was the first game where we felt like I don't know if wow, Oakville is really they look different this year, and they are. And then we're also like, well, or is Lindbergh that bad? We don't know, but yeah, it's not been a good season for Lindbergh. They're 3-6. They've been battling with some injuries, but they do have their running back Kevin Fisher back. He missed a decent amount of games this season, so it's good to have him back. And it looks like they've kind of found some answers to their offense, which really struggled at the beginning of the season. So that's good for them. I think this is a better Lindbergh team than this is actually definitely a better Lindbergh team than when they first saw Oakville, because they changed their offensive scheme after this game. They had a different offense after that game. Yeah, they're running a lot of pistol plays, and that went nowhere. So they're still a spread team, but they running some things differently there. But Oakville is 7-2. They've been pretty solid this season.
Oakville's defense has shined. I mean,
yeah.
Caden Updike had 4 sacks last game. Gavin Anderson, not only is he their main running back, he's also incredible on defense. He's got 5 fumble recoveries this year, 51 tackles. Lucas Skinner is also really good in their defensive backfield. He's got 4 interceptions. So the Oakville defense has been really good all year. And even though the Lindbergh offense is trending in the right direction, I like Oakville's defense in this spot. So I'm going to go with Oakville to cover, and I'm going to go with the under.
So Lindbergh something doesn't have to give. It's not like Oakville's done something a lot with a little trajectory here. But Lindbergh, they've not won a game on the road this season. But the playoffs are where trends typically break. I do actually have Lindbergh covering. I will take the under as well. I don't know if I have an exact pick yet, but I might have. I think Lindbergh's a better team this year, and not this year I meant, but recently. And if their defense can lock in, and their offense has given a few teams some problems, might have Lindbergh winning this game outright. But Oakville, they've been pretty solid this year, and so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for now. But I do have Lindbergh covering.
All right. Next up, heading over to Illinois, we got the Class 1 playoffs. Salt Fork at Dupo. Dupo is favored by 6.5 points. The over is at 54.5. So some brief info on Salt Fork. They are 5-4. They are scoring about 28 points per game and allowing 22 points per game. For Dupo, they're 8-1 so far. Incredible year for them. Deacon Prater's been a great QB. Over 1,800 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Brady Portell, is it Thin? Is that how you pronounce his first name? Tin Stags.
Mm-hmm.
Braden Esterlin, all have been great receivers, all of which have 500 or more receiving yards. And then Shea Owensby and Jacob Duncan have been amazing on defense. Both have 7 or more sacks. So incredible year for the Tigers. 8-1 with their only loss being by 1 point to a really good Chester team.
On a 2-point conversion, they could not convert at the end of the game.
Yeah, so great stuff from Dupo. I don't know too much about Salt Fork. I guess they're okay, but Dupo is the 6th seed in the South bracket. Salt Fork is the 11th seed. I'm going to go with Dupo to cover here, and I'm going to go with the under.
So South Fork is from Catlin, Illinois. They are excuse me. As you mentioned, they're 5-4. They were 5-2 at one point in the season, but since then they are on a 2-game losing streak with 3 score losses to Fithian Oakwood and Clifton Central. They have not beaten a team with a winning record this season, so that does help Dupo. Although Dupo's not had exactly a strong strength of schedule as well, so I think this game might be closer than what people think. I mean, I guess maybe Dupo's best win. They did beat Westland, who are in the playoffs. They beat them 20-3, and they had a decent victory over Principia, 50-28. And that Chester game, even though they lost, I liked how it was a really close back and forth game. And Dupo, they do a pretty good job of putting up points. Like you said, Prager's got 1,800 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They have 3 receivers: Brady Portel, Ting Staggs, and Braden Esterline, with over 500 receiving yards, and each of them have at least 6 touchdowns. Shai Owensby has 7 sacks. Jacob Duncan has 8 sacks. Zach Klostermeyer's in year 4 here at Dupo, and he's done a fantastic job of turning the program around. I mean, this is year 4, and they're in the playoffs for those third time in 4 years, second year in a row here. I'm gonna, in Dupo's, they're averaging 42 points a game. Both these defenses are averaging over 20 points a game allowed. Dupo 24 and Salt Fork 21, but I do have Dupo winning the game. I'll take the over, and I will have them covering.
All right.
I think it'll I think it'll probably be like a 2-score game or so, but I think Dupo will do enough to win, and it'd be cool to see that they have them have a home game.
All right, next up, number 12 matchup of the week, we got Howell Central at Zumwalt West. This is the first round of the Class 6 District 4 playoffs in Missouri. The Jags are favored by 26.5. The over-under is at 50.5. We talked a lot about Zumwalt West, how they've had great form over the past 4 weeks. The great win against Hannibal in Week 9. Howell Central kind of stumbling into the playoffs. I mean, they
not been. I think unfortunately they've regressed this season.
Yeah.
Because as far as their record goes, I'm not saying regressed as a program, but yeah, their record is. I really thought they would have a better record at this point in the season, just where they left off last year.
Yeah. I mean, the Vianney win is their only good win of the year so far, which is honestly a good win. I mean, Vianney's a decent team this year, but 2-7 is definitely disappointing for the Spartans, and I think Zumwalt West has a ton of momentum right now. So I'm going to go with the Jacks to cover, and I'm going to go with the over.
Yeah, Zumwalt West, they previously beat the Spartans 35-9 in Week 4 of the season. And you're right, West, they've got a lot of momentum going forward. I mean, there was a lot of criticism about their lack of a run game, and they couldn't run the football. But I don't know what they've exactly done to fix that. But their offense has certainly gotten better. Certainly after the Francis Howell game, where they only scored 19 points there. So they've made some good adjustments, and this is a game they should be winning. So I have them. Ooh, that's a big spread actually, but I'll still have them taking that spread though. So I'll have them covering, and I'll take the over. So we agree.
All right. Next up, heading back over to the Illinois side for number 11 game of the week. We got Roxana at West Frankfort. West Frankfort favored by 4.5 points. Over-unders at 43.5. This is in the Class 3 bracket of the Illinois playoffs. Roxana, well, both teams actually are at 6-3 so far. Roxana defensively has been great this year, averaging only 15 points allowed. Makai Shorter has been a great running back, over 1,100 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. Mason Crump, also a great year for him for the Shells. 893 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns for him. They're definitely a run-heavy team, but whenever they need to throw, Cohen Dugan usually does a pretty good job. 610 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, which is huge for him. And then defensively, Lyndon Thies, Max Austria, and Brandon Green are the main guys, the main tackle getters for the Shells. West Frankfort, 6-3 team against a decent schedule. This is the 11 versus 6 game where Roxana is the 11th seed, West Frankfort is the 6th seed. So, I don't know too much about West Frankfort, but it looks like they beat Chester. That's a pretty good win.
Yeah, they beat them 33-29. Sorry, I was trying to think of it another way, but yeah, it's a good win.
You're good. I simply just don't know enough about West Frankfort to give too big of a review here, but I'm just going to go with the Shells to cover and win here, and I'm going to go with the over, because why not?
Yeah, West Frankfort is home to arguably the best high school basketball gymnasium in the state of Illinois.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We talked about this at one point, but
at one point.
Yeah. But anyway, but their football team's obviously decent this season. Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, Chester's.
Oh, is this the team that was down south on 57?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Now I remember.
Go look it up. West Frankfort basketball gym.
Now I remember.
Go Google images that. It's pretty great. Yeah, Chester's their only victory over a winning opponent. They did have a pretty nice 50-20 victory over Massac County, who's barely missed on the playoffs, 4-5, and they've 60-balled their last two opponents, where they beat Anna Jonesboro 61-22, and then Sparta 66-41. I'm gonna go with Roxana though in this one. I think their schedule is a little bit better. They've played. I mean, Roxana played Bree Central fairly close, and Bree Central is a 4 seed in Class 4, and Roxana they have an identity. I think they have a pretty decent offense where they're a triple option team. And they lost it, like Roxana lost to Freeburg 21-19, and then Columbia 34-29. So all three of their losses have been decided by less than 11 points, and 2 of them by 1 scores. And besides that, they've blown out just about everybody else. I mean, they did have a 12-point win over Jerseyville, and they did beat Alton Marquette 41-6, who's in Class 4 as well, who's the 15 seed. So I'm going to go with the Shells to win this game here, and I'll have them cover, and I'll take the over as well because West Frankfort they've been giving up a lot of points as well. So I think it could be a fairly high scoring game because it looks like they're able to put up a lot of points too. But I'm going with the Shells.
Sticking in the Illinois playoffs, heading over to the Class 6 bracket, we got Plainfield East at East St. Louis. Holy cow, East St. Louis is favored by 40.5 points here. The over is at 53.5. I don't know why I'm surprised. I mean, East St. Louis is a machine, and they're really only seeded at 8 because they have 3 losses. That's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's even though they had the most difficult schedule of literally any team in the entire state of Illinois, because they had 3 losses, they're going to get stuck at the 8th seed. And then for Plainfield East, so if you go to the IHSA website, for those who are keeping track at home, the IHSA website is actually really awesome, and it gives great info on each playoff team. So in the Class 6 part of the team info, Plainfield East, this is their
Bengals.
This is their 5th appearance in the playoffs ever, and it's their first appearance since 2021. And they have yet to win a playoff game in their school's history.
And it's unfortunately going to stay that way.
It will continue. I'm going to pick the Flyers to cover here easily, and I'll go with the over. I mean, come on. East St. Louis, when was the last time East St. Louis has lost a first-round playoff game? Ever?
I don't know if they ever have.
I mean, seriously, they always find their way to at least make the Final Four, at least. So
you'd have to go back to the 90s and the 80s for that, and 70s, because I think they started the playoffs in 1975 in Illinois. East St. Louis and they made it to the playoffs in '75. They didn't, and they made it to the championship. They didn't lose. By the way, that game is on YouTube if you want to watch it. So, obviously, I think statistically the 3rd or 2nd most state. I think that they're the 3rd most state championships in state history in Illinois, and I think they're 2nd all time ever. I think anybody in the entire country in wins.
I think they're 3rd in state championships. See if I get this right.
Joliet and Mount Carmel.
Catholic and the Mount Carmel.
I think
not Mount Carmel, the city, but like Mount Carmel in Chicago.
Yes.
The Caravan. Because I think both those teams have 16. I think Mount Carmel has 16, and then JCA has 14, 15-ish.
Yeah.
And then East St. Louis has 11 state championships and 5 runner-up finishes. But if you go on the IHSA website and look at because it'll give you, JCA has 15 state championships, so they're also in the Class 6 playoffs this year.
And by the way, there's a chance that they could meet East St. Louis and JCA, because JCA plays Chatham-Glenwood, who's the 1 seed, but they got in as the 16 seed, so that's good. And JCA is really battle tested, so that
Chatham-Glenwood has
got a raw deal.
Such a brutal draw. They got JCA first round, and then they'll have East St. Louis second round.
And then whoever you play after that is tough.
Yeah.
But if you can get through JCA and East St. Louis, you're probably going to win state.
You're going to win state if that happens, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Plainfield, Plainfield East, I should say, they're 6-3, but their opponent's schedule is pretty bad. They're 24-57 opponent records, and they're 6-3. Like, you would think that would be like a 9-0 team with that type of schedule, but they're not. They're 6-3. So, not that it was going to matter that much anyway. So, yeah, I'm going with the Flyers to cover and hit the over.
I guess we agree on that.
Yeah.
Staying in Illinois, but now heading up to the Class 8 bracket. We got Belleville East at West Aurora. West Aurora is favored by 7.5 points here. The over is at 45.5. Aurora is on the western side of the Chicago suburbs. And both teams actually are 7-2. Belleville East defensively a bit better than West Aurora, but West Aurora a bit better offensively than Belleville East so far. The Lancers 7-2 with a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they beat Pekin in week 2, which is a nice win. They barely lost to Edwardsville, which I'm sure is a game they want to have back.
Well, that's a game where they probably should have lost for the most part, but then the fact that they came back and took the lead with under a minute left, they should have probably won that.
Yeah. And they beat their in-town rivals, Belleville West, in week 7. And
Althoff, so they won. They're the Kings of Belleville for now.
Yeah, and then they beat a pretty scrappy Capital City team in week 9, 27-10. And West Aurora, they're okay. It looks like they're 7-2, so they're a good team.
They beat a pretty good Glenbard East team who's 8-1, 35-32. They beat Elgin, who's in the playoffs, 49-16. They had a close loss to South Elgin, who's 7-2. They lost to them 42-35, and they crushed Bartlett 49-21. Bartlett, they finished 4-5, so they were short of the playoffs. And they've played 5 playoff teams and are. Sorry, no, they have not played 5 playoff teams. That's my bad. I read that wrong. But yeah, they got a decent schedule. They're in a good conference. They're really their only lopsided loss. Both these teams they're both 7-2 and both have one lopsided loss each, and then 2 really close losses, and then another really close loss. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with West Aurora in this one. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty similar. I mean, Aurora put their score average 35 a game. Belleville East averages 29, and then so pretty similar teams. And yeah, I'm just going to go with West Aurora. I mean, it's a long drive up there for Belleville East. I mean, I'm assuming it's a Friday game, and I'll take the over. Yeah, and I got West Aurora covering.
I will go with West Aurora and the under. All right, number 8 game of the week. We've got Waterloo out at Mount Zion. Mount Zion Braves are favored by 20.5. The over is at 48.5. This is another game in the Class 4 bracket of the Illinois playoffs. Waterloo comes in at 6-3. Mount Zion comes into this game at 7-2. Mount Zion is the only team to have knocked off Bree Central so far this year, and this is honestly a big game in the Class 4 bracket, because if they play this, the winner plays Rochester, the Rockets, and that'll be a really tough one.
And Mount Zion, they barely lost to Rochester.
So even though the Rochester, they're the 3 seed, really good year coming into this, it's a winnable part of the bracket, honestly, and. I guess they're not in the top 15 games of the league, but I do want to shout out Alton Marquette. 0-9 last year, and now they're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that is huge. Congrats to the Explorers. 5-4 this year. That's huge. Just to get in the playoffs, improve by 5 wins in a year. That's huge. So congrats to them. But anyway, back to Mount Zion and Waterloo. Waterloo, decent season for the Bulldogs, and kind of a rough way to end it against Rochelle. They lost 27-6, but that's a pretty solid Rochelle team. And, run-heavy team for Waterloo. Derez Sales has been great, but Owen Niebrugge has also had a great last few games of the season as well. Both those guys are really quick and really good in open space. I just think Mount Zion's a heck of a team, and they've been really good in the playoffs as of late.
Yeah, I mean, they went to the championship game last year.
Yeah, so this is a consistently really good playoff program. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick Mount Zion to cover here, and I'm going to go with the over.
Yeah, the Braves have really good quarterback play. and they got J.C. Anderson, who's a 4-star recruit, headed to Ole Miss. So, and he's a pretty good defensive end as well. Kind of can do it all. He's 6'7", really good football player for reason. There's a reason why he's a 4-star. This is an offense who's averaging 41.4 points a game, and their defense is pretty good too, only allowing 12.4. Yeah, I mean, I'm just debating on like, can they cover that spread? Waterloo, they had a loss, 27-6 loss to Rochelle, and they're co-champions of the Mississippi Valley Conference with Muscuda, and they lost to Columbia and Muscuda, both close games, but I think Mount Zion's probably the toughest team they've seen so far this season. So yeah, I'm gonna have Mount Zion cover, and I'll take. I hate to do this. I hate to think about this on live. Think this deeply about it. Over under. I'll take the over.
All right.
I think Waterloo can put up a few points, but yeah, Mount Zion's offense is pretty good.
All right, heading over to the Class 7 bracket of the Illinois playoffs. We got Edwardsville at Richards High School in Oak Lawn, Illinois. Richards here by 32.5 points, and the over-unders at 56.5. East, I keep saying East. Edwardsville, in a game that we thought ended their playoff hopes, we were wrong, and they sneak into the playoffs at 4-5 because they used up all the 5 and so all the teams that were 5-4 or better in Class 7 got in the playoffs for Illinois.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So they had to just go to they had to find the best 4-5 team, and you know what, Tigers, you guys are in. Why not? So even though defensively, I think if you just look at the yardage they gave up to Smet, they gave up a lot of yards to Smet, but they held them to 30 points. So not terrible. I mean, is Yale Weaver healthy and back full speed for them?
I don't know. I mean, I've tried to talk to people, and they say like Edwardsville's not saying anything.
Ugh, that's not a good
and
sign.
I do know he was on crutches after the East St. Louis game when he got hurt. So that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. So
I don't think he probably is, because I think if he's in that game against the Smet, I think they score more than 15 points. So I don't think he's in there.
Yeah.
And they're not putting their stats in too. So. I mean, we could watch the highlights of the game, but we just didn't have time to do that.
I'm going to go with Richards to cover. I'm going to go with the under. I mean, Edwardsville's.
Here's the thing, though. Here is the thing. Oak Lawn Richards, I'm looking at the
they shouldn't be the 1 seed.
I'm looking at the rankings for Class 7. Despite being 9-0, Richards is not in the top 10 rankings.
Richards is 8-1.
Oh, they're 8-1, but they're still not in it. Sorry.
Yeah, they're actually, funny enough, there are 0 9-0 teams in Class 7 in Illinois.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
So I don't think Edwardsville's going to win, but I have them covering that spread. Because I mean, sometimes you can get, I'm not saying Richards is a fraudulent team, but sometimes you can, like a few years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, Collinsville played Maine South. Yeah, they played Maine South, and they were undefeated, and then Collinsville beat them.
That's right. I remember that game. Mm-hmm.
It was like, but like you knew that was a fraudulent Maine South team, because like their opponent record was just awful, and they were they won a lot of close games, and so they were able to kind of tell like, okay, this isn't that great of a team here, but so I still think Richards wins the game. And they actually don't look that bad. I mean, their opponent win record is 44-37. They average 43 points a game. They give up 21 a game though, which is interesting. And their only loss was to Sandburg, which is in Orland Park in the Chicago area. And but it doesn't look like I don't think they've played any ranked opponents this season. And they've been in some games where they've given up over. There's been, I think, more than half of their games they've given up over 20 points. And man, if Yale Weaver was healthy in this game, I would give Edwardsville more than a puncher's chance in this one, but I don't think he is. So still going to go with Richards to win this game, but I do have Edwardsville covering, and I will take the over.
All right. Next up, heading over to the Class 5 bracket in Illinois, we got Muscuda at Bloomington. Bloomington favored by 16.5. The over is at 47.5. Some quick info on Bloomington. So they're in Bloomington, Illinois, obviously. Both teams are at 6-3. Bloomington averaging 33 points per game and allowing 23 points per game. So, solid team from Central Illinois. Southern Central Illinois.
No, it's just Central Illinois, not even Southern Central Illinois. Yeah,
I never know how Illinois folks define.
No, they're
Southern
north
Illinois.
There's really no northern or southern central. It's just all central until you get to basically until you kind of get past Bloomington. That's where it's kind of northern Illinois. And like Bloomington, they're north of Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even north of, I think geographically they're north of Champaign too.
Yeah. Well, decent team. This is actually their 28th consecutive year making the playoffs, so really good program over there. And from Muscuda, we've talked a bit this year about them, how Sean Murphy's been great out of the backfield, over 1,100 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns.
I believe he's hurt though.
Oh, they had a nice win against Carbondale in Week 9. Did he play? Come on, stats, load, please. Of course, my computer's being slow right now. The one time I really need it. I mean, if he can't play, then that's rough for the Indians.
He did not play.
Okay. Nigel Bowers is pretty good too. So is Cameron Reed.
Noah Collins.
They have decent guys, and Noah Collins was their main back now, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's a tough loss. That's a really tough loss for the Indians. So I guess I'll go with Bloomington to cover, and I will go with the under.
Bloomington, they did have a good offense, but they've given up. They have allowed 23 points a game, and they are 1-3 in their last 4 games. So they started out 5-0, but then they lost. Actually, not a bad loss, 56-42 against Normal Community, who's ranked in the Class 5 rankings, and then they lost to Peoria Notre Dame, who's 7-2, and then lost 42-14 to Peoria High School. And then they beat a decent Centennial team who's 5-4, 37-6, and they got a nice victory over Normal West, who's 7-2. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this Bloomington team. Yeah, they do have a proficiency to give up some points, but this Muscuda offense has not been an offense that's been. They're not gonna beat you by putting up lots of points offensively for the most part. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Purple Raiders. By the way, great name.
Nice.
Love it. Yeah, I'm going to go with them. I'm going to have them covering, and think I'll take the under as well.
All right. I guess we agree on that.
Yeah.
Next up, heading over to the Class 4 bracket, we got 2 Metro East teams playing each other. We got Highland at Freeburg. The Midgets favored by 5.5 points. The over-under is at 43.5. Yet another Class 4 matchup. We got a ton of Class 4 games.
I think we got 5.
Coquia Centralia, Waterloo Mount Zion, Highland Freeburg, Columbia, Bree Central, and Old Marquette Carterville. Yeah, 5 games on the Class 4 bracket to track for Metro East teams. Ton of Metro East teams made it this year. Really cool to see. Love seeing it.
I thought we lost Edwardsville, but they still made it.
I know. So that was funny. That was so funny to see them make it in.
And then Althoff, they couldn't make it. They were 4-4, but they couldn't make it. So
yeah,
that was kind of like the one out of all the games that they were the only one who didn't make it in, I think, at 4-4. So
yeah. Well, for Freeburg, having a great year, 8-1 so far. Only loss to a really good Bree Central team. I think the way that their defense stepped up in the Columbia and Roxana games was huge. Those are 2 teams that run the ball pretty effectively. So for Freeburg to tighten up there and really just defensively shut those teams down is really huge. And they got several guys like handing the ball off too, but Cooper Kisgan's the main guy for the Midgets, and Kisgan actually also leads the team in tackles as well. So Cooper Kisgan is the guy over there for Freeburg, and then for Highland, they're 6-3. Nothing crazy for the Bulldogs, but a good year.
Typically, if Highland were to play Freeburg, you would always pick Highland, but this is different this year.
Yeah, and Highland's win against Muscuda a couple of years ago, I think, was huge, but
couple weeks ago, you
mean?
Couple
weeks ago, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but Sean Murphy wasn't playing in that game, though.
And to only beat Alton by 10, I think, is a little concerning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Freeburg to cover, and I'm going to go with the over.
It would make a lot of sense if Highland finally clutched up and won out of nowhere, but it's just it's hard to trust them, and I think every time I've picked them to win this season, they've lost, which is pretty damning. So I'm gonna have to go with Freeburg in this one. It's gonna be a huge game for them. A 5 seed in Class 4 is it's a pretty big deal for Freeburg there. So I'm gonna I'll have them cover, and I'll take the over. I mean, it feels like every game. Well, Highland and Muscuda, that game definitely hit the under because it was only 26 combined points. But Freeburg can score, Highland can score. But it's just, I think the difference is just Highland's defense has just not really been able to step up to the plate this season, besides the Muscuda game, but that was because their best running back didn't play. So I've got to go with the Midgets in this one.
All right, heading over to, staying in the Class 4 bracket for Illinois.
We're going to stay there for another few games, too.
Yep. Another matchup of two Metro East teams. We got Columbia at Breese Central. Breese Central favored by 28.5 points. The over is at 47.5. These two teams actually played each other earlier this year, and it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so not exactly earlier this year.
Yeah, and Breese Central won pretty comfortably by a final score of 41-6. I mean, the Breese Central defense just completely shut down Columbia. Offensively, Breese Central just didn't need to do anything flashy. They kind of just stuck with their bread and butter, just off to Cole Davis, and Cameron Biggs, let good things happen. Owen Kerr had a decent game a couple weeks ago. But the big thing for them was just they were able to force 2 turnovers, which was nice, and they forced a ton of 3 and outs as well. I mean, they held Columbia just to 229 total yards of offense and less than 3 yards per carry. And usually Columbia wants to run the ball a lot, and when you hold them to less than 3 yards of carry, Columbia's gonna have a hard time winning those games. Yeah. And I don't think much changes here. That's a pretty big spread, so I'll pick Columbia to cover, but I will go with Breese Central to win comfortably, and I will go with the under.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's going to be hard to beat a team by like more than 28 points twice, and Columbia's a well-coached team, so I don't think that they're going to lose by that much. And yes, but I still have Central winning, still fairly comfortably too. These are 2 well-coached teams here. And then the winner of this game will play the winner of Freeburg Highland. So it's very feasible that Breese Central could, let's assume it's Breese Central here. Central could beat Columbia and then take on Freeburg in back-to-back weeks in the playoffs. So it could happen, and then there's a chance that
are they going to play who I think they're going to play in the quarterfinals?
Cahokia?
Mount Zion.
No, that would not be.
Okay.
They wouldn't play them in the quarterfinals.
They don't want to play Mount. They probably do want to play Mount Zion to avenge their loss, but Mount Zion has had their number in previous years.
Yeah, and then if not Mount Zion, then it could. That bottom half of the South bracket's pretty tough because you got Springfield, you got Sacred Heart Griffin versus Quincy Notre Dame. So it's the 2 big Catholic schools in Central Illinois.
Yeah.
Quincy, they're Western Illinois, but you can also categorize them in Central Illinois too. And then the winner of that game will probably be favored to beat, I'm assuming, Carterville over Alt Marquette. And then you got Rochester probably beating Taylorville. Rochester's going to beat Taylorville. I'm just going to say it right now.
Rockets are a really good program.
Yeah. And then because the history between Rochester and Taylorville is completely lopsided with Rochester. And then Rochester versus Mount Zion, that would be a great rematch. And then we could have a Rochester versus SHG in the quarterfinals for Central Illinois people.
They're both because Rochester's right outside Springfield, right?
And they're big rivals.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, Ken Leonard, who's the all-time winningest head coach in Illinois, he was the head coach at SHG. His son Derek Leonard played for him at SHG, but then ended up coaching Rochester and turned them into a powerhouse in Illinois. And
That's crazy.
Those teams played every year for over a decade between the father and son coaches right there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So Derek Leonard is still at Rochester, and then and I believe Rochester beats SHG this season. I think this past week actually. So that would be insane if that got a quarterfinal rematch right there, and then you could have a quarterfinal game potentially between Breese Central and Cahokia if Cahokia can take care of business against some pretty good teams.
All right. Well, anyway, heading back over to Metro East games. Number 3 game of the week, we got Cahokia at Centralia. Cahokia is favored by 20.5. The over is at 49.5. This is a weird quirk in the bracket. These 2 teams literally played 3 weeks ago, and Cahokia won 40-8. But for whatever reason, they have Centralia as the higher seed. They have Centralia as the 8 seed and Cahokia as the 9 seed, which might actually help Cahokia because they got to go on the road and they should win this game. But then wouldn't they host?
They would.
Round 2?
They would host.
So even though they get the
Maybe they're not. They don't have to complain that much.
yeah, so even though they got the worst seeding for a weird reason, I don't know why they got the worst seeding. Maybe it was just based off opponent wins. I don't know.
I do think it'll be a closer game this time, though.
I mean, it should be. I mean, Cahokia, great season so far, 7-2. Best wins I would say are against Marion and then Collinsville. They haven't had the toughest of schedules, but they've definitely taken care of business when necessary.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say it's a tough schedule. It's like the toughest schedule, but it's not a soft schedule.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, Bree Central is number 8 and in Class 4, and then we talked about Mount Zion. They're ranked 4th, so and they were 6 seed. So sometimes it can be weird like that. Cahokia and Centralia are unranked.
For the Comanches, I do want to shout out Malik Mazion real quick. Leads the team with 136 tackles so far, 9 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. So incredible year so far for him in on the Comanches defense. And tough loss to Sycamore this past week. Funny enough, Sycamore
That got them into the playoffs at 5-4.
it did, yeah,
It's really weird, and that was a home game too. So
Yeah.
really, really weird loss there.
yeah. And hopefully Cahokia can get it right. Big spread, but I still think Cahokia can cover here, and I'm going to go with the under.
I will go with Centralia to cover, and I will take the over. Yeah, Cahokia may have potentially gotten a break because, if you win this game, you get a home game over presumably who do they play? Carterville?
It's
no,
it would be either Richland County or Jacksonville.
Olney. It would be Olney, and
Yeah.
Olney should win that game.
Yeah.
There against Villa Grove, but or no, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. That was Hardin Calhoun versus Villa Grove.
We have so many Metro East
Jackson-
teams in the south part of the Class 4 bracket.
I love it.
I want one of these teams to make state. Please. That would
Olney
be
would
so
play.
cool.
So they play Jacksonville in the 1 versus 16 game, and I would assume Olney beats Jacksonville, and so Cahokia would if they can beat Centralia, then they would have a second round home game, which is always huge to have. So we're guaranteed to have. We are guaranteed to have a we're guaranteed to have someone in the quarterfinals in Class 4 from our area. And that's because Bree Central plays Columbia and Freeburg plays Highland, and in the winter
Yep.
that game will play
Yep.
right there.
That's
so
cool.
that's awesome.
That's good. That's
and then somehow potentially if Cahokia can take care of business,
Yeah.
potentially then make it a guaranteed Final 4 game for a Class 4 team here.
That would be huge.
Last year we had Bree Central and Cahokia in 2 different quarterfinal games, and they both lost.
That was brutal.
That was tough.
That was so sad.
That Central loss to Mount Zion was really tough.
Yeah, that was Bree Central's best year in school history last year, and that was a tough way to go out.
It was at home especially.
Yeah. Anyways, that does it for our Illinois games. We got 2 more games to go over real quick, though. The first of which,
Oh gosh.
the War on Warson returns. MICDS at Ladue. The Rams of MICDS are favored by 7.5 points. The over-run is at 40.5. MICDS took care of business yesterday against Mexico. They won 35-13. They're 5-4 so far in the year, but with a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they had a 5-point loss to Live for Life week 1, lost to Smet in week 2, 6-point loss to a good Lutheran North team in week 6, and then 7-point loss to St. Dominic on a Monday game a couple weeks ago, which is a really, really, really weird weather-delayed game. But
It's not like those teams they beat. I mean, they're good, but like the Smets 5-4, Live for Life's 5-4, Lutheran North's 4-3. But yeah, it's still tough. It's tough games and all fairly close.
yeah, and I want to say for the Rams, but I can't say that because
You got
both teams are Rams. We have to say
it's
the
a school name basis for right
yeah.
here.
Ben Peterson has been amazing for MICDS so far. 8 sacks, 55 tackles. One of their
He might be
probably their best linemen.
He might be their all-time sack leader in school history. I'm not an MICDS historian, but he definitely has, I think, over 20 career sacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
We need one of our MICDS fans to double check us on that. We'd love
Yes,
to know.
please. because that's a program with a lot of over
ton of history.
100 years
A
of history.
ton of history.
Yeah.
But they're also playing a team that also has great history in Ladue. And we talked a lot about the Ladue-Fox game and how Fox just showed up and physically beat Ladue. And Ladue ends their season on a really sour note with that loss. And they're going to have to get right for MICDS because while MICDS isn't as run-heavy, they're just as physical as Fox is. And
they're not going to, I think, bully their way like how Fox did against Ladue, but MICDS definitely brings more to the table scheme-wise because they can pass and they can run. I mean, they got Justin Bishop is a pretty shifty junior running back for them, and he had a pretty big game against Mexico. I saw them get kind of bullied up front against St. Dominic, but Ladue's not going to do that to them. So I think it's going to be a pretty good game. Both sides. I mean, Ladue's. Well, I've been saying all season, like Ladue, for the most part, has played pretty well defensively. I mean, the reason they've won most of their games, but obviously these last 2 games, their defense has not really shown up. So, that kind of inclines me to favor MICDS going into this one. I mean, even though Ladue's got the home field advantage, but I think it's going to be both teams are going to be pretty, I think, equally represented by both of their schools and communities in this one, and I would imagine it's going to be I hope it's going to be a packed crowd. I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't be, and this is actually going to be historically a very normal time of game for both teams because it's going to be played on an afternoon on a Saturday, but it feels incredibly weird now that Ladue with lights is playing an afternoon game at home because that's not happened in at least 6 years. I think since 2015 when they've last had a home game before they remodeled the Rams Stadium. So it's going to feel really weird in that new stadium watching an afternoon game, even for so many years going to many afternoon games at Ladue High School. So I think well, Roman, what do you think?
I'm going to pick MICDS to cover. I'm going to go with the over. This Ladue offense is just a little too shaky for me to trust right now. I don't think they've found their identity yet, and it's week 10. So it's just I don't know what their plan is. I hope they can figure it out, but I don't know. I mean, and can Ladue's linebackers shed blocks better than they did last week? Because Fox's offensive guards did a really good job of getting second level and getting good blocks on Ladue's linebackers. Mm-hmm. And if MICDS's guards can do that, then Ladue is kind of cooked. So I'm going to go with MICDS to cover here, and I'm going to go with the over.
Yeah, I don't think MICDS is going to be as good as what Fox was able to do up front because Fox has got a really physical front, offensive line, and they do things kind of differently. But it's going to be difficult, I think, for Ladue to cover MICDS's receivers or just about. I think the difference of the game, though, is it's got to rely on Ladue's offense. Like, can they get stuff going? And really, all season they haven't really. And I think, I hate to say this, but I really think if Ladue if they go with Emmett McIntosh, what he was able to do at the end of the game, if they can just try to bottle that and go with him and just try to do something different, I think that's probably their best way to win the game. And I'm not saying they will because I think MICDS does win the game. I will say I think it's going to be close. So I think Ladue's going to cover that 7.5 spread. But it's just hard for me to pick Ladue in this game after what happened against Fox and just kind of what's been going on for the whole season. So I do think their defense can lock in, but ultimately it's going to be on their offense if they can make a difference because they're going to need to score more than 17 points to win this game because I think MICDS's offense is going to do a little bit more than that in order to make it happen. But Ladue MICDS games can get pretty crazy. 2016 is the best case example for that, and then 2011 was another example of that, where it was a crazy game. You can look it up if you want, but it's pretty cool that both these two teams are playing, and
they should play every year, in my opinion.
That'd be good. That'd be great. That'd be great if they could play every year because both communities would get really into it, and the Ladue community would get into it obviously because it consists of a lot of those families there. So it's going to be, I think it'll be a great environment for Ladue on an afternoon game. I will say this: it's really really tough to beat an afternoon football game in Ladue, Missouri. It's like I think they do it better than just about anybody as far as Saturday afternoons go. There, it's really pleasant. But I'm gonna go with. I have a bold pick here. I think the Rams are gonna win this game. Anyway, just stunned.
I'm not going to react to that.
I think MICS is going to win the game.
Is Ladue covering though? Do you think?
I did have him covering. Yeah.
All right.
I think it'll be a tight game, but MICS wins.
All right. Now on to our number one game of the week. We got Howell at Troy. This game is going to be on a Thursday. Troy is favored by 5.5 points. The over is at 47.5 points. Troy was able to get the upper hand in this one back in week 6 with a 43-27 victory. And because of Troy's loss to Zumwalt West, they got bumped down in the district standings, and now they play Howell in week 1. Troy has had pretty easy last 2 games. And I know Carter Dowell, with his recent touchdowns against Battle, he now is the all-time leader in touchdowns for Troy Buchanan. So congrats to him. He's been doing great this year, unsurprisingly. 18 touchdowns for him. Chris Winger has kind of also been the other main running back stepping in for in that run-heavy offense. He has 15 touchdowns as well. So, and I think both those guys are up there in the area total points leaders. And defensively they've definitely gotten some stuff together. Talon Rowland, unsurprisingly, having a great year. 4-year starter for the Trojans. 98 tackles, 4 sacks, and it's going to be it's what's been the case for Howell all year. I mean, it's been a funky year for Howell. They're 5-4. They had a tough loss to Rockbridge this past weekend, where the stats aren't in for that game, but really all year the Francis Howell passing attack has been mostly kept in check, and they've been just hoping that Jalen Ballard can bail them out of any situation they put themselves into, which he kind of has for the most part. He's still averaging over 8 yards per carry. He's got over 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. So he's been great for them, but the one-dimensionality is going to be tough. We watched these two teams play an incredible game last year in the regular season, and hopefully they can be just as exciting this year. It's on a Thursday. I don't know why they're playing on a Thursday. I mean, I don't think there should be a ref shortage. I mean, because there's not too many games going on. Maybe they're just trying to avoid Halloween, which, if so, is kind of silly. I mean, come on. But
works out for us though, because at least we can be there and film it. It's I always like it when they can stretch it out from like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just so we can just be there and simply film the games and put more content out there.
Well, for Troy, I mean, since the Hunter Humphrey injury, they've been mostly okay, but they have shown some hiccups. Like, the offensive output against Zumwalt West was horrible. I mean, they only scored 7 points. Yes, it's a great Zumwalt West defense, but we'll see if they can kind of eliminate the hiccups and mistakes there, which I think they can. So I'm going to go with Troy to cover here, and I'm going to go with the over.
Huge game. I mean, this is a rematch essentially of the 2021 game, where Troy they got that last second touchdown over Francis Howell, which was one of the better games that we've ever covered, and so I think there's going to be a lot of fanfare involved in that, and it'd be great, be a fun time there. I like how we got these two games, like MICS Ladue, Howell Troy, are, two great games to kick off the playoffs, at least on the Missouri side. There's a few, but then it's kind of few and far between besides those games.
Yeah.
So it's nice that we at least got those two. Troy, they won fairly convincingly the last time they played, and I don't know, Howell's been just up and down this season. Like they've not been bad, but they've at times, like I didn't think they would allow 38 points to Rockbridge, but they did. They played a really tough schedule too, but they had no answer for Carter Dell and Chris Wenger the last time they played, and it's the run game, and so maybe they'll do a little bit better there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Trojans in this one, and I'll agree what you say. I think they cover, and I'll take the over. It's just it's going to be hard. And Howell's defense has just kind of been inconsistent over the course of the season. So hard to tell what you're going to get from them, but ultimately got to stick with the Trojans.
All right. Well, that does it for our top 15 games of the week. It's now officially the most wonderful time of the year, the playoffs for high school football in Missouri and Illinois. It's so much fun every year. There's always exciting finishes, upsets, close games, crazy stat lines. There's always crazy, fun games to watch, to go to. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great next few weeks. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And it's also, we got a few, rivalry games or somewhat rivalry games where teams are very familiar with each other, and it's really cool to see that in the playoffs, with Columbia and Breese Central playing each other, and then I'm sure there's players on Lindbergh and Oakville who know each other pretty well, Howell Central and Zumwalt West, and then definitely MICS at Ladue is I know there's players in MICS who would have gone to Ladue if they went to their public school, and then so I just know those teams have been, once they knew they were in the same district, they were pretty excited they could play against each other, and it's, lo and behold, it's happened. So I think we're going to have some pretty good games right there, and it's one of the things that's what playoffs is all about, just the great competition and promoting the game and all that. So and hopefully we get some memorable games, because that's the best part of it right there.
For sure. Well, that does it for me. Any final thoughts on your end?
Just enjoy football. This has been awesome. It's been a great season, and really just we just can't wait for Thursday when it all starts and kicks off. It's November madness, and there's no sleep in November right now. That's for sure.
Facts.
Yeah, even we're still in October, but it will be in November starting Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys very much for. We don't know who's all watching right now. We don't have that in front of us right here, but thank you all for tuning in and listening to afterwards as well when you guys tune in and see this really long show, it feels like. So.
Yeah. Pushing 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Awesome.
Great show.
It feels like it too.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys.
Peace.